Chapter 998. Stepping into the main hall, there were only a few people inside. These people were not simple. Each and every one of them was a high-ranking official. The only one that Su Fong recognized was Huang Fu Duan. It was truly a small world. Of course, when he met Huang Fu Duan in the past, Su Fong could only look at him from afar and raise his head to look at him. This was the first time they met in the main hall of this training ground. Huang Fu Duan also acted as if he did not recognize Su Fong. He seemed very ordinary among the high-ranking officials. However, his status as a high-ranking official of Huang Fu made him respected even in the corners. Fortunately, he did not see Huang Fu Yinhai. Among these people, there was clearly one person with the highest status. It was an old man wearing a starry robe. He looked to be in his 60s. The collar, sleeves, and edges of his robe were all cloud white. It was completely different from the robes of ordinary disciples. This was an existence whose status surpassed Huang Fu Duan and Huang Fu Yinhai. Huang Fu Xiao came to the front of the crowd and introduced Su Fong one by one. Every person here was a big shot. They could make many disciples tremble in fear with just a stomp of their feet. As for the old man, he was Huang Fu's vice elder. In the constellation of 9 heavens, he was also a junior elder. His status was only below the Huang Fu elders. Not to mention in the main peak of Huang Fu, he was also a supreme existence in the other 8 training grounds. The junior elder's name was Qiu Ranjing. People called him Elder Qiu. He was not a Huang Fu expert, but an expert with a different surname. Of course, in front of ordinary disciples like Su Fong, the main peak of Huang Fu was naturally respected by the Huang Fu clan. However, it could be seen that in the huge constellation of 9 heavens, the disciples of the Huang Fu clan were just a drop in the ocean. Most of them were disciples with different surnames. Therefore, Junior Elder Qiu Ranjung was also respected by the higher-ups of the Huang Fu clan. Huang Fu Xiaoying is a good seedling. After taking a glance at Su Fong, young Elder Qiu Ranjung stroked his beard and praised him vigorously in front of everyone. To be able to pass the internal test as a Tao Cave Immortal and participate in the 10,000-year competition, I can guarantee that he's not only the best in our Taoist sect, but also the best in the 9 Taoist sections. There won't be a second disciple who participates in the competition as a Tao Cave Immortal. Yes, everyone nodded in agreement. At this moment, although Su Fong's head was lowered, he could sense that there was only one person whose expression was not good when he released his great perfection ability. Naturally, it was Huang Fu. He could clearly see the expressions of the higher-ups around him, and even the slightest change in their expressions. As for Qiu Ranjung, this little elder, Su Fong only had 3 words to describe him: unfathomable. Not to mention Qiu Ranjung, apart from baby Huang Fu, Su Fong could not see through the rest of the people here. However, they were far inferior to young Elder Qiu Ranjing, especially when it came to the power of the world. Under the great perfection ability, Su Fong could not sense everyone's cultivation level. He could only sense the strength of the power of the world. After all, at their level, it was a competition of control over the power of the world. Qiu Ranjing was especially ethereal. He was not connected to the array formations and auras of the surrounding halls. However, the auras of the others, such as Huang Fu Duan, were clearly fused with the auras of the surrounding halls. This meant that Qiu Ranjing's cultivation level was higher than that of the higher-ups here. Xiaoying, I have high hopes for you. Furthermore, you have received Little Fei's recommendation. I believe that you will be able to achieve something in the competition this time. After everyone conversed for a while, Qiu Ranjing spoke again. He looked at Su Fong like an old man next door. The competition will be held soon. As a disciple, you have to show off for the Taoist sect. However, the Taoist sect does not wish for its disciples to be injured. Do your best. Su Fong immediately bowed. Thank you, Elder Qiu. I will remember. You have vitality and spirit. The future will depend on you disciples. The new generation will replace the old. In front of everyone, Qiu Ranjung praised Su Fong several times. After a while, they left the hall. Only Huang Fu Xiao accompanied the 2 of them out of the hall. They came to the corridor. On one side was the main entrance of the hall. There were more than 1,000 disciples who had passed the assessment. All of them were geniuses. Huangfu Xiao seemed to be talking to herself. Every 10,000 years, the internal assessment is also the time for the higher-ups of the Taoist sect to carefully examine the potential of each disciple. Baby Huangfu asked curiously, "Senior brother, does that mean that Elder Chiu asked my brother to come here because he wants him to be a disciple in the assessment?" The competition every 10,000 years is not only an opportunity for the sects to select geniuses. It is also the best time for the 9 great Taoist sects to select disciples with potential. Even those who did not pass the assessment but have potential will be secretly received by the higher-ups. In the future, they will be treated differently from other disciples. Huangfu Xiaoying, there is still some time left. You should focus on your cultivation. The competition every 10,000 years is very cruel. Every disciple and every opponent wants to step on your corpse to succeed and become the eternal star sun. Because if you become the eternal star sun, you will be able to go to those mysterious Taoist sects to cultivate and become a core disciple. I will work hard. Go back and wait. Huangfu Xiao sent the 2 of them out of the crowd and went to the plaza alone. At this time, Su Fong and baby Huangfu would occasionally see the higher-ups bringing out disciples for questioning. Those disciples were all people with potential. "Brother, look at those people in the middle of those disciples." The waiting process was very boring. Baby Huangfu suddenly patted Su Fong's arm and pointed at the hundreds of people who passed the assessment. Su Fong looked at the hundreds of disciples in the middle. Every one of them was releasing a domineering aura and was a cut above the rest. Most of them were good-looking and were all in the heavenly, immortal realm. These are the peerless geniuses born in our Taoist sect in the past 10,000 years. Some of them are very extraordinary. Most of them are disciples with different surnames. For example, that one. Which one? His hair is tied up. He looks a little like that guy in the Taoist bun. I see him. His aura and vital qi are so domineering. Everyone around him is keeping a distance from him. He is an expert. This person is Di Qingwei. He entered the heavenly, immortal realm after cultivating for more than 6,000 years. He has long been valued by the higher-ups of the Taoist sect. Even Big Sis has some impression of him. This time, Di Qingwei is the first person to become one of the 10 strongest eternal star suns in our Taoist sect. Di Qingwei. What a powerful person. Brother Bao, are you a match for him? After hearing baby Huangfu's introduction and hearing his hostility towards the disciple called Di Qingwei, he obviously saw him as an opponent. Baby Huangfu waved his hand. Whether I am a match for him or not, we will only know after we fight in the competition. However, this person broke through the cave immortal realm before me and entered the heavenly immortal realm. Golden Core Heavenly Grotto Realm cultivators have cultivated a lot of world power. I'm not very confident. I believe in Brother Bao. Besides Di Qingwei, you have to remember some of the strongest disciples in Huangfu Taoist sect in the past 10,000 years. For example, Wang Dong, Zhao Huatian, Yin Rongrong, and Lu Yuanxiu. Baby Huangfu introduced Su Fong to more than 10 disciples with extraordinary auras and 2 women in one breath. These disciples were all potential heavenly immortals and had long been designated as the eternal star suns. In Huangfu Taoist sect, they had always enjoyed the cultivation resources that only the eternal star suns had. In the huge constellation of 9 heavens, there were many disciples. It had existed for so many years, had abundant resources, and had a strong Tao foundation. Naturally, there would be some outstanding talents among the countless disciples. Su Fong could clearly sense the extraordinary aura, world power, and primordial spirits of the disciples that baby Huangfu mentioned. He thought about how many fortuitous encounters he had and how he was an ascendant. That was why he had such extraordinary abilities. However, in front of these disciples, he also lost some of his brilliance. Compared to them, he was just a country bumpkin who had just entered the city. The internal test only ended after 10 days. A total of more than 3,000 disciples passed the test and represented Huangfu Taoist sect in the 10,000-year competition. As for those who did not pass the selection, in fact, they would also have fortuitous encounters in their future cultivation. Some of them would cultivate hard and become genius disciples. Even if they could not become the eternal star sons, they would still have their own cultivation paths, luck, and ability. Their talents would always shine in the constellation of 9 heavens. More than 3,000 disciples gathered in the square. The higher-ups announced that the official competition would be held 3 years later. Next, they would give each disciple a reward in public. Returning to the side peak with baby Huangfu, he thought that this guy was going to go out and have fun again. Unexpectedly, he was going to cultivate in seclusion. As expected, baby Huangfu had changed. When they returned to the main hall, Red Kite brought a tray. "Young master, you're back. Congratulations on passing the test. This is the morning spiritual water I collected. Use it to brew spiritual tea. It can relieve fatigue, concentrate, and clear the mind." Su Fong wanted Red Kite to leave so that he could continue cultivating. However, his heart warmed when he heard this. "Thank you for your hard work. The plan of the day is in the morning. The morning is also the time when the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is the most abundant. Instead of cultivating, you collected spiritual water for me. I'm not like young master. I'll never be an official disciple. I'll be a slave for my entire life. If I meet a good master, then my life will be better. If I meet a good master, then my life will be better. If I meet a good master, then my life will be better. If I meet a good master." Red Kite handed Su Fong a cup of tea. He took a sip. It was really not bad. A refreshing fragrance flowed into his body. Moreover, it brought a sense of comfort. It really had the ability to strengthen the muscles and activate the meridians. Red Kite, everyone's fate can be changed by themselves. Probably because he thought of Red Kite's experiences and resonated with her. Su Fong's expression suddenly froze. Back then, when I entered the constellation of 9 heavens, I was also a temporary disciple. To put it bluntly, I was a servant who worked for an official disciple. But now, I've become an official disciple. If you have the heart to cultivate, I'll teach you cultivation techniques. If you don't, I'll guarantee that you'll stay in my palace forever. My young master can help me cultivate." Red Kite's big eyes trembled when she heard this. Her watery eyes looked as though they were about to turn into pearls and fall into her eyes. "The choice is yours. If you want to cultivate, I'll give you all the resources. If you don't want to cultivate, I'll do my best to protect you. You can live your life peacefully in Star Palace. I've experienced what you've gone through. Hence, I understand your situation." Red Kite suddenly felt ashamed. "Of course I want to cultivate. I originally came to join Star Palace. It's just that I didn't pass the test." Su Fong put down the teacup and let Red Kite fill it up again. "That's good. From now on, you can come in once every month. I've already become a cave immortal. I can cleanse your marrow, give you resources, and teach you the 9 heavenly stars small phase art. Go. Then I'll see you in a month." "Wait. What's wrong?" "Thank you for the tea. This is the only time. From now on, focus on cultivating. I believe you can change your fate through your own efforts." "Yes." Red Kite took the tray and left the hall. Helping others is also helping myself. After the door closed, Su Fong released a sealing formation and sealed it completely. Then, he left behind young immortals to guard the surroundings while his original body entered the void dust cauldron. There's still 3 years left. I'll focus on cultivating the Azura Blood Sea. After the 10,000 years competition, regardless of the result, I'll make a trip to Huang Zhe Star Realm as soon as possible. My previous goal was to become a cave immortal. In front of Huang Fu Fei, this is enough to prove my aptitude. As for the Eternal Star Sun, I'll try my best. I don't want to show my true strength to everyone. After pondering for a while, after a series of cracking sounds, his body turned from a human body into a pool of blood, and it quickly turned into a human face. He began to control the pool of blood. At the same time, he used the crucible transformation technique to refine resources and turn them into spiritual water for the pool of blood to devour. On the other side, the 14 slaves also began to refine the yin-yang immortal sky pellet. Chapter 999. The yin-yang immortal sky pills refined by the puppets were mostly consumed by the junior commanders. Currently, the strongest demon immortal was Lu Xiong, who also coveted the yin-yang immortal sky pills. The power of yin and yang was the power of creation. As long as there was life, it could be absorbed. Not to mention life, even some substances could absorb this power. Under the yellow spring blood sea, I can only feel the existence of heavenly caves, world fragments, divine apertures, and yang immortals. I didn't expect cultivation to be so difficult. How many years has it been? I still haven't truly cultivated the Yama blood sea. In his current state, he could only sense the existence of world fragments. As for his physical body, it was difficult to sense anything else. This meant that there was still a long way to go before reaching the yellow spring blood sea. When it was almost a month, he controlled the blood to transform into his physical state and left the void dust cauldron. Now, it didn't take long for the blood to transform into a human body. It only took about 3 days. If it was in the past, it would take at least a month. This meant that this period of cultivation was very helpful to him. Young master. He appeared in the main hall and absorbed for a while. After recovering, he opened the door. Servant Red Kite walked in small steps, not daring to make any noise. She came to Su Fong and half knelt. Su Fong didn't go to the throne. He stood beside the void dust cauldron and asked Red Kite to stand up. You are now a spirit immortal. As long as you work hard, you will break through to the cave immortal realm. When you cultivate the 9 heavenly stars small phase art to a certain level, I will find a way to make you an official disciple. Of course, it would be best if you step into the cave immortal realm. Red Kite said, Thank you, young master. I will work hard. Young master's cauldron is very powerful. What kind of treasure is it? I have never seen a treasure cauldron before. This is the cauldron transformation. It is very rare to see it now. I only got it when I went to the desolate lake astral world. Young master is so powerful. The desolate lake astral world. I have some strength in the future. I hope to accompany young master to the desolate lake astral world to train. If you really rely on hard work to cultivate, I will take you there. Okay, sit beside the cauldron transformation first. This time, I will teach you the 9 heavenly stars small phase arts introductory mental cultivation method. Let's see how long you can cultivate it. Once you have mastered it, you can cultivate the official mental cultivation method. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the Red Kite immediately went to the crucible transformation realm and sat down cross-legged. Su Fong formed a seal with his hands, and a seed of starlight was instantly formed. Young master, this is an energy seed, and it is formed by the essence of the Star Palace's true chi. Young master wants to implant it into my body to help me cultivate the 9 heavenly stars small phase art faster. Young master is so kind to me. How can I accept it and repay it? You also know about the energy seed and how to use it? Although I'm just a servant, I've browsed through many ancient books in the outside world and met many cultivators. I just happen to know this point. Energy seeds are secrets that are not passed on to others. Normally, it's a secret technique that the elders give to the juniors. Once it enters a cultivator's body, it's like using water to bloom and ice to bloom. The power of the seed will perfectly fuse with the body, making it 10,000 times easier to cultivate and condense divine abilities. I'm sorry. I didn't expect a woman like you to know so much about these things. I want to thank my lord. My lord, you have given me a new lease of life. Red Kite lived alone in the great immortal world, experiencing the coldness and warmth of the human world, seeing the laws of the world. When Su Fong condensed the true chi seed, Red Kite stared at Su Fong in a daze. There was only him in her eyes. Her eyes were emitting a faint and deep luster, and her cheeks were slightly flushed. Don't be distracted. Su Fong's perception was amazing. Naturally, he knew the changes in her expression. With a stern shout, he flashed behind the Red Kite with a swift and fierce palm and slapped into its back. With a buzzing sound, a large amount of starlight gushed out from Red Kite's body. Then it gushed out from her eyes, nostrils, mouth, and even ears. All right, The seed contains various kinds of power, and there's also an introductory mental cultivation method. I'll condense an array formation for you. You can cultivate at the side of my main hall. If you succeed, release the young immortal to activate the array formation around the crucible transformation realm. In a very short time, when Red Kite was still surrounded by the starlight and seemed to be unable to control it, Su Fong condensed a barrier in the corner. He grabbed at the void and sucked Red Kite into it. After observing for a while, Su Fong drilled into the crucible transformation realm. As soon as he entered, Red Kite, who was sitting cross-legged in the corner, suddenly looked at the crucible transformation realm with a cold gaze. The constellation of 9 heavens is an absolute power among the countless immortal worlds. The 9 heavens star small phase art is also a supreme cultivation method. I have to keep it well and cultivate it well. It can make me stronger. Huang Fu Shaoying, you're spinning a cocoon around yourself by doing this to me. Inside the crucible transformation realm, in an extremely short period of time, Su Fong was reduced to a pool of blood through a series of shattering. In this state, he could still sense the world fragments, heavenly cave, divine aperture, and young immortal. He could only control a little. Su Fong thought for a while. This kind of cultivation could only make a little progress. He had to think of a way. After groping for a while, he found the problem from himself. In the end, he thought that he could only find a breakthrough from the blood transformation true body and the Black Lotus true body, especially the blood transformation true body, which was a kind of demonic state of the demonic path. However, Su Fong had a perfect physical body, so he miraculously cultivated a true body. When the blood transformation true body was used, the body was in a state of burning, stimulating the potential and exploding the life force. He was not afraid of any pain. At this time, the face in the pool of blood showed some pain. Then, some small bubbles suddenly appeared in the surrounding blood. There was a faint demonic chi burning in the bubbles. This was because he was in the state of blood, activating the blood transformation true body. Therefore, when the blood changed, the demonic chi in the blood bubbles appeared. It's completely different from activating the blood transformation true body with the physical body. The physical body can enter the blood transformation state in an instant. But now, only a part of the blood has the blood transformation divine power. I thought that the blood transformation true body would make the yellow spring blood seas cultivation undergo a great transformation, but I didn't expect that after activating it, the movement is so insignificant. If activating the blood transformation true body once is not enough, then I'll activate it twice or thrice. Moreover, in the future, I'll have to activate the Black Lotus true body so that the blood will have those magical blood threads. This way, with the blood threads, I can circulate my true chi, divine abilities, magic power, and young immortal, allowing the blood to completely transform into a physical body. After so many years of cultivation, the yellow spring blood sea was really difficult to cultivate. It reminded him of the difficulty of cultivating the 9 transformations in the past and condensing the yang meridian. He didn't expect the yellow spring blood sea to put in so much effort. At this time, the blood maintained the state of demonic chi bubbles. Only a small area was formed, and after activating the blood transformation true body, Su Fong was exhausted. He had no choice but to stop and let the crucible transformation realm refine a lot of spiritual liquid. Through watering, he absorbed it in the state of blood. After fusing with the spiritual liquid, Su Fong's mental strength and vitality were restored. He began to activate the blood transformation true body again. The current yellow spring blood, was like a newborn baby in front of Su Fong. He was responsible for letting the baby grow up bit by bit and learn to walk. After about half a year, he didn't expect Red Kite's primordial spirit to activate the crucible transformation realm. After Su Fong condensed a human body, he was pleasantly surprised to find that Red Kite had used the energy seed as the source and perfectly mastered the Star Palace's entry-level mental cultivation technique. Its speed was amazing, and its aura carried a certain amount of the world's power. This was almost impossible for a spirit immortal. He didn't expect Red Kite to have such potential. Fortunately, official disciples had the qualifications and authority to teach cultivation techniques to their servants. He taught the first level of the entry-level cultivation technique to Red Kite. Since then, Red Kite, as a servant, began to officially embark on the path of cultivation in the cultivation world, just like the disciples of the Star Palace. Su Fangda focused part of his attention on the crucible transformation void. He used the blood transformation true body and the black lotus true body to control the yellow spring blood sea. Other times, he paid attention to the slaves refining pills and cultivating the 9 yang 9 transformations and the ethereal truth. Since the ethereal truth surpassed the 9 heavenly stars' small phase art, Su Feng didn't need to spend time cultivating the small phase art. He strived to have the ability to transform reality and illusion as soon as possible. Fortunately, after this period of cultivation, his control of the yellow spring blood sea had changed greatly. After leaving the crucible transformation realm, he saw Red Kite in the starlight. A large amount of world's aura poured into her aura through the 9 heavenly stars' small phase art. It entered her body and settled the world's power in her body. After putting away the crucible transformation realm, Su Feng disappeared in the blink of an eye. The scene changed, and he appeared outside the baby Huangfu Palace. It turned out that the 10,000-year competition was about to begin. He had to prepare well with the baby Huangfu. A few days later, at the main peak of Huangfu, thousands of disciples who passed the internal test flew to the depths of the dojo among the clouds and the mountains under the envy of many disciples. Huangfu Yanhai, Huangfu Duan, Huangfu Xiao, and the others flew at the front. They didn't see the young elder Qiu, Ranjung. Every disciple was nervous. There were also some disciples who were looking forward to it. They were full of confidence. For example, the exceptional genius Di Qingyue only saw calmness in him. The other geniuses were also full of energy. After passing through the familiar drifting cloud lake, they came to the depths of the dojo. On the right, there was a world of fog. It was said that it was the Bodhi spiritual world. Not all of the 9 dojos in the Star Palace were like the Huangfu Dojo, where the dojo was controlled by a family. Therefore, there was no difference between family and disciples with different surnames. Soon, a lonely mountain peak attracted everyone's attention. That was the location of the 10,000-year competition. There were many disciples who were flying into the mountain peak. Stepping into the mountain peak, there was a fairy formation and square on the top of the mountain, which was called the Eternal Star Peak. It was divided into 9 regions. Under the leadership of the higher-ups, tens of thousands of disciples came to one of the camps in the square. The other camps had disciples from different dojos. It was Su Feng's first time seeing the extraordinary disciples from the 8 dojos in such an occasion. The 9 dojos in the Star Palace were Huangfu Peak, Proud Sky Peak, Sleeping Celestial Valley, Heavenly Cloud Cave, Bodhi Spiritual World, Ruoxue Spiritual Land, Star Origin World, Celestial Defying Pavilion, and Xinghua Spiritual Sky. The 9 great Tao grounds naturally had their own differences in strength. For example, the Bodhi Spirit World and the Ruoxue Spirit Land were extremely powerful existences. The Star Origin World, the Celestial Defying Pavilion, and the Star Splendor Spirit Sky were all very mysterious. Only ordinary disciples would appear frequently. On the Eternal Star Peak, the disciples from the 9 dojos were all exceptional geniuses. They were the most talented geniuses in the past 10,000 years. After everyone sat down quietly, they saw the disciples from the other dojos continuously gathering. There was a distance of 1 mile between each dojo. In the middle was the fairy formation. Higher up in the middle was where the higher-ups gathered. The higher-ups had yet to appear. Currently, only the disciples from the 9 dojos were gathering. Gradually, more disciples from the 9 dojos started to appear. Although they couldn't participate in the 10,000-year competition, they still wanted to feast their eyes. After waiting for a long time, it was about to start. Su Feng looked at the other dojos from time to time. At that moment, baby Huangfu came close and smiled. "Don't be anxious. If you're anxious, we're anxious too." He, Since we're here, what's there to be afraid of? Brother Bao, since you're so confident, it seems like you're going to fight to become one of the 10 eternal star sons, Su Fong smiled and asked. Chapter 1000. How can I be confident? Baby Huangfu suddenly stopped laughing. He lowered his voice and said, I heard that the rules of the competition this time are different from the past. The sect is going to test the disciples. Su Fong was stunned. It doesn't matter if it's different. I don't have much confidence in the competition. If I can pass one round, then another. If I can defeat one person, then so be it. The higher-ups will tell us later. Oh right, you're my brother. Why are you so unambitious? My brother. No matter what, you have to get an eternal star son. I'm not joking. Look at my elder sister. She's so picky. She would never let ordinary people enter the heavenly treasure, mystic realm. But it's different for you. What's the difference? How many years did she let you cultivate in there? Brother Bao, it's not because she let me. I relied on myself to pass through the rounds. If I couldn't even win the first round, I would have been chased out. But she's indeed very kind to me. With such an opportunity, I was able to break through to the cave immortal realm. Brother Bao, don't worry. I will repay her in the future. Haha. And you say you're not interested in my elder sister. Baby Huangfu heard Su Fong's words and suddenly pressed down hard on his arm. Su Fong shuddered. Huangfu Fei. Forget it. She is strong and unpredictable. How can it be? Su Fong trembled and said, I don't have such thoughts. She is the star in the sky, and I'm just a pile of mud on the ground. Hee, you're my brother. Of course, we should not let others take advantage of you. My elder sister is the #1 beauty. She's also very strong. Sai, what's wrong? I see that you are not competitive at all. Even if I am willing, you will not be valued by my elder sister. You are so boring. Everyone, listen up. As the two were chatting, the higher-ups in front suddenly spoke. It was Huangfu Duan. As soon as he spoke, more than 3,000 disciples quieted down and stood up. More than 100 high-level officials came to the front, and Huangfu once again sternly shouted, I just received news from the high-level officials. This time, the rules of the competition will be different from the previous ones. This time, it will be crueler and more dangerous. The Star Origin Array is a Yuan Spirit Array. The rules of the elimination round are very simple. Tens of thousands of disciples will have their true bodies outside the array and then release their young immortals into the Star Origin Array to fight with other disciples' young immortals. Every young immortal defeated will accumulate 1 point. Then, to win the competition, you must accumulate 5 points. Of course, the higher the accumulated points, the more you can directly become the Eternal Star Child. Wow! When the higher-ups finished speaking, the thousands of disciples were all shocked. The elimination round was actually like this, bringing the most direct and cruel competition to the disciples. Baby Huangfu suddenly raised his voice and asked, releasing young immortals for the competition? What if the young immortals are accidentally destroyed inside the array? Won't they be in danger? A high-level official said, Young master, don't worry. The Star Origin Array is a Yuan Spirit Array. When every young immortal enters it, they will be protected by the array's shackles. When they fail, they will release their power and be protected. They won't be killed or suffer any accidents. I see. Many disciples exclaimed at the same time. It seemed that not only baby Huangfu thought of this problem, but the other disciples also thought of this. What if the young immortals were killed? Huangfu Duanhai added, You probably don't know much about the Star Origin Array. In fact, many large factions have similar arrays to test disciples, test them, or hold competitions. There are also similar arrays in some ruins. This is the first time our sect has used this kind of array outside the sect. Although the young immortals won't be in danger of being destroyed, it will still consume energy. Everyone, cultivate well. The higher-ups are fusing the Star Origin Array. After saying that, the higher-ups went to the side. The remaining thousands of disciples left and began to talk nonstop. The Star Origin Array is so cruel. Is this a first-rate faction in the great world? The internal test was already very difficult. Now, the Star Origin Array is the law of survival. Moreover, A disciple has to defeat 5 young immortals and accumulate 5 points to pass. For most people, this is extremely cruel, but for me, I happen to have the advantage of being a young immortal. I didn't expect luck to be on my side. In this case, I can directly accumulate a lot of points and become the Eternal Star Son. I don't need to participate in the arena competition. I have to make good use of my advantage. My weakness is my realm. If I compete in the arena with the strength of a cave immortal, I can defeat a cave immortal disciple. But if I want to defeat a heaven immortal disciple, I have to use all my strength. Now that I have a chance to become the Eternal Star Son, I have to take this shortcut. Soon, Su Fong had an idea in his mind. Learning from others' strengths to make up for his weaknesses was a method he was very good at. Baby Huangfu and all the other geniuses couldn't sit still. Other than the competition, they were also competing in the arena, so they were prepared for it. In the end, it turned out to be an elimination round where young immortals would fight each other. This was too sudden and cruel. At noon, finally, above the array formation in front of them, there were thousands of high-level officials gathered in the high-level area. They were all dazzling existences. With ordinary vision, one could only vaguely see their faces. Even Su Fong could only see them after using his perfected state ability. He also saw a familiar face. It was Huangfu Dojo's little elder Qiu Ranjung and some of the high-level officials of Huangfu Dojo. The rest were unfamiliar. Those high-level officials didn't say anything. They came and sat down one by one. Then, the high-level officials of the 9 major dojos began to move. Su Fong followed baby Huangfu and the other disciples to leave their seats one by one and came to the front. The high-level officials were already waiting. The elimination round is about to begin. What you need to prepare is to sit cross-legged around the array formation and focus on releasing your young immortals. You need to maintain your young immortals at their strongest state. When you enter the Star Origin Array, each of your young immortals will be supported by the array formation's divine power and will be protected. Don't worry about accidents. Next, use your young immortals to defeat your opponents. Defeat 5 people and you will accumulate 5 points. We're from the same dojo, so we'll meet there. I hope that you won't have to kill each other. Go fight the disciples of the other 8 dojos. We can't kill each other. Also, if you accumulate 10 points, you can directly become the Eternal Star Child and won't have to participate in the arena battles. If someone can accumulate 10 points, then when you use the hand seals and the divine power, the high-level officials will release a divine power and take your young immortal away from the Star Origin Array. That's all you need to remember. When you enter the Star Origin Array, you need to be calm, think carefully, and look for opponents weaker than you. Don't act rashly. There are about 50,000 disciples from the 9 major dojos participating in the 10,000-year competition. You still have a lot of chances. Remember, don't kill each other. Yes, as the high-level officials released their divine power, more than 3,000 disciples responded in unison. Then, under the guidance of the higher-ups, the disciples approached the incomparably huge Star Origin Array one by one and sat down cross-legged in midair, about 10 feet away from the array. Baby Huangfu and Su Fong sat together. There were many celestial immortals around them. He was just a dual Dao Cave immortal, so he really didn't count for much. At this moment, before the elimination round began in the high-level area, every high-level official here had a shocking status, and there were even some young people among them. Qi Yinzi, who Su Fong had seen several times before, was also among them. Brother Qi, you look injured. What happened? More than 100 young people were gathered together. They all came from different dojos, so their star robes were somewhat different. A young expert suddenly asked Qi Yinzi curiously. Qi Yinzi replied, I went to the desolate pond astral plane to see the birth of an ancient treasure and was accidentally poisoned. I'm still recovering. So Brother Qi also went. A few experts came over, I went too. When I went, there were almost no treasures being shot out. I heard that a few experts obtained treasures. I heard about those people too. There was a monk called Shangde, Bai Tsubing, and some others. About a dozen of them obtained treasures. I heard that many years ago, the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's treasure, the Yellow Spring Great Emperor's vase, which was once established in the Yellow Spring immortal world, also appeared. Monk Shangde obtained the Yellow Spring Great Emperor's vase. Why does it sound like that person is not a Buddhist cultivator, but a demonic cultivator? However, the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor is really incredible. There are many records about him in the ancient books. I just received some news that the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's dojo might be in the Desolate Pond astral plane. Moreover, some ancient treasures will appear. I even heard that our sect is very interested in the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's dojo. Of course, the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor once established the Yellow Spring Immortal World. Overall, the Yellow Spring Immortal World was much stronger than our Star Palace. I heard that in recent years, the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's treasures have appeared in many places. It is also said that many places have his dojos. I wonder if it is true this time. No matter if it is true or not, our sect will be interested in it. Moreover, many experts in our sect will rush to the Desolate Pond astral plane to try their luck. Let's not talk about this. Our mission here is to represent the higher-ups to receive the disciples who have passed the competition and become the Eternal Star Sun or have performed well. These disciples are having a harder time than us. We did not even encounter the star origin array in the past. We won step by step in the arena with our own strength. If the sect wants to be strong, we cannot be complacent. We have to absorb the good things from other forces. Only then can the sect become stronger. And after chatting for a while, they began to look at the star origin array in front of them. At this moment, another 2 hours passed. Outside the star origin array, there were tens of thousands of genius seedlings floating around. Each of them sat cross-legged and released their young immortals. There were also higher-ups around them constantly reminding them, until the star origin array suddenly exploded with starlight and the array changed. Following the orders of the higher-ups, some of the disciples' young immortals began to enter the array. Baby Huangfu lifted his 1-foot-tall young immortal and looked at Su Feng. "Brother, don't give up so easily. We have to become the Eternal Star Sun together and enter the inner dojos to cultivate. We will become elite disciples. And we were able to escape from a dangerous place like the Desolate Pond astral plane. This test is nothing. Brother Bao, don't worry. I will grit my teeth and persevere. No matter what, I will try my best to pass the elimination round." Ha, good. When the time comes, we will enter the inner dojos to cultivate together. With shifty smiles on their faces, the two of them extended their hands, and the young immortal flew into the starlight of the star origin array. Chapter 1001. The moment they entered the array formation, they felt different. Normally, they would feel weightless when they entered a training hall or barrier. But this time, the young immortal felt weightless the moment he entered the array formation. It felt like the young immortal was breathing. The star essence array made the young immortal extremely real. With the senses similar to the main body, the young immortal's height also increased to the height of a normal person. It was like a lifelike Su Feng. The star origin formation is indeed profound and unfathomable. The moment I step into it, a divine aura will make the young immortal become as real as the main body. The Su Feng's young immortal continued to gain weight, but it was less than 1/10 of the main body. Starlight also surged into his body. It turned out to be a kind of immortal seal. After activating this immortal seal and accumulating 5 points, he could leave the array formation and pass the test. At the same time, the baby Huangfu's true appearance condensed beside him. However, it still looked different from the main body. At least, it was somewhat transparent. He looked around and hurried to the Su Feng side. "Damn it, I feel so creepy. I've been in the training hall for so long, but I've never seen such a magical array formation like the Star Essence Array." Both of them felt uneasy, as if they had entered an unfamiliar environment. They heard movement around them. It turned out that the young immortals of the other disciples were in a semi-transparent state. They walked in groups of 2 or 3 and entered the depths of the array formation. "Since we're here, let's find a few cowards and crush them. I just need to accumulate 5 points. Let's go in together." After waiting for a while and getting used to it, they flew into the endless star essence array world with the other Huangfu training hall disciples. Boom! Boom! Soon, many Huangfu training hall disciples had just entered the depths when they heard violent vibrations. Just as they were a little afraid, the immortal fog in front of them was suddenly swept away by some force. It seemed like someone was secretly controlling the immortal fog. Then, the disciples' expressions changed. Countless young immortals from other training halls swarmed over like locusts. There was a sea of people, and they were even fighting each other. The destructive starlight from the battle of essence souls, as well as some sword chi formed by essence soul divine might, became more and more terrifying. The celestial mist swept the young immortals from all over the place and quickly engulfed the disciples from Huangfu Dao sect. Su Fong, baby Huangfu, and some other disciples saw that the young immortals of the Dao Hall's disciples were still far away, but they suddenly appeared around them in a distorted state. Moreover, in the next second, many disciples had already started fighting. The young immortals used palm strikes, fist techniques, and divine might sword chi, causing the surrounding formations to tremble. Previously, they were surrounded by Huangfu Dojo's young immortals, but now, almost all of them were fighting with the young immortals of other dojos. Baby Huangfu's eyebrows suddenly furrowed like swords. You're looking for a pushover. Brother, be careful. This is the primordial spirit world. This is not my advantage. Furthermore, I can't activate my treasures. I'll lure those people away. Rustle, after he finished speaking, he rushed to the right of the 7 or 8 disciples, Yang Xian. Yang Xian was actually flying in this star origin formation. This was probably the effect of the star origin formation's divine might. Su Fong couldn't care too much for now. However, there was a saying that he was trying to figure out. That was, he was looking for a pushover. Whoosh! Taking advantage of the chaos around him, Su Fong immediately rode on the churning celestial cloud. Only now did he truly have the perspective of a single person. Disciples from different dojos were fighting in every part of the formation. Su Fong was used to seeing all kinds of fighting. Moreover, with the protection of the star origin formation, there was no danger to his life. It was just a battle between primordial spirits. Bang! Suddenly, a deafening explosion came from the side. He turned around and saw a young immortal from a cave immortal disciple being covered by a powerful palm strike. That palm strike was filled with primordial spirit divine might, and it was formed in a thick fingerprints. It was very powerful. Above the fingerprints was a young immortal from a heavenly immortal disciple. Looking at his robe, Su Fong knew that he was a peerless genius from Xinghua Spirit Sky. I admit defeat. That young immortal from a cave, immortal disciple, couldn't struggle. If he didn't admit defeat, then the young immortal from a heavenly immortal expert would continue to attack. Even if he couldn't kill the young immortal, he would be severely injured. It wouldn't be worth it. The young immortal from the heavenly immortal disciple released his divine might and sucked out an immortal seal from that cave immortal disciple. Suddenly, he stared at Su Fong like a fierce tiger. I'll take the first point. As long as every cave immortal disciple from Huangfu Dojo isn't someone like Di Qingwei, I'll beat them up. You'll be my second point. Before this expert was about to attack Su Fong already sensed that something was wrong. He flew toward the formation that was fighting in midair. The expert was furious. As for the young immortal disciple who admitted defeat, his young immortal instantly turned into smoke and disappeared. Where do you think you're going? Haha, a heavenly immortal can't suppress a cave immortal like you. You'll be my second point. However, Su Fong's young immortal speed was really shocking. After exploding, he disappeared from the area where the experts were fighting and entered deeper into the clouds. That expert who was chasing after him found other cave immortal targets and stopped chasing after Su Fong. This is the best time for me to accumulate points. With my current strength, it's best to deal with the cave immortals. If I drag this on, those cave immortals will be defeated by the heavenly immortal experts. Then, I'll have to spend more effort to deal with the heavenly, immortal genius young immortals. Suddenly, he turned around and descended from the immortal clouds. He frowned inwardly. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and secretly activated the heavenly demon disintegration seal. With a whoosh, the immortal fog spread out. Below him was also a formation space where the young immortals from the 9 major dojo disciples were fighting. Su Fong used a shocking gaze and locked onto a cave immortal disciple who was escaping. Coincidentally, he was a disciple from the hidden Immortal Valley Dojo. His realm was probably at the high-level cave Immortal Realm. TSK. The young immortal's body suddenly increased his speed by 10 times. In the young immortal's body, a large number of formations were activated. These were the countless layers of formations that Su Fong planted in the young immortal's body when he cultivated the heavenly demon disintegration seal. Each formation had shocking power. His speed was several times faster than that of the hidden Immortal Valley Cave Immortal Disciple. Just as the other party turned around in fear, Su Fong spat out a sword chi primordial spirit divine power net. Like a spider web, the disciple was trapped. The other party's young immortal divine power couldn't resist Su Fong's power at all. The divine power suddenly shattered. With a flash of lightning, Su Fong grabbed a sword chi condensed from his primordial spirit and pressed it in front of the bound disciple's chest. "Take out your immortal seal, or I won't be polite." The other party turned into a cocoon and couldn't struggle free. Looking at the incomparably sharp sword chi in Su Fong's hand, he said fiercely, "You're a disciple of the Huang Fu Dojo. I'll remember you. I'll definitely settle this grudge with you." Still dilly-dallying? Su Fong couldn't afford to waste any more time. With a powerful slap, the divine power palm grabbed an immortal seal from the other party's body. I won't forget you." That disciple seemed to have been greatly humiliated. He stared at Su Fong, but in less than 3 breaths, his entire young immortal body disappeared into thin air. First point. With a chill in his heart, Su Fong turned around and suddenly jumped up. In front of him were a few young immortals fighting. He noticed that 2 of them were cave immortals. But just as he was about to attack, he suddenly saw a female, young immortal. Looking at her appearance, she should be a disciple of the Bodhi spiritual world. She actually shot out a shocking wave of primordial spirit energy from her eyes, blasting away one of the cave immortals. The other one was sent flying by her palm and was forcefully suppressed in midair. The disciples of the Bodhi spiritual world couldn't be offended. They were too strong. He turned around and flew for a while to avoid the attention of the heaven immortal experts. Suddenly, he saw another prey. Yes, he was a hunter. When he saw a cave immortal disciple, he regained the calmness and ruthlessness of a hunter. In front of him was a cave immortal disciple who was running away in fear. Looking at his appearance, he was also a Bodhi spiritual world disciple, but he was just a cave immortal. Whoosh! A force exploded and flew out. In midair, a supreme primordial spirit energy burst out from his eyes. This was a Bodhi spiritual world disciple whose cultivation level had reached the peak of the cave immortal realm. He was originally an expert who could reach the peak of the cave immortal realm after cultivating for 10,000 years. However, this person's young immortal cultivation level was ordinary. When he sensed the danger and the pressure of the divine aura, he turned around and looked at the large amount of divine aura coming at him. He was angry and said, "Huang Fu Dao Hall." The divine aura turned into a torrential primordial spirit energy flame. The young immortal disciple at the peak of the cave immortal realm also used his aura to resist, but when he encountered Su Fong's primordial spirit energy flame, he collapsed. Su Fong's primordial spirit energy flame was like a shocking wave, while the disciple's young immortal divine aura was like an ordinary wave. When they collided, it instantly collapsed. Su Fong's primordial spirit directly crushed it and stepped on the disciple's young immortal. Su Fong controlled the divine aura, surrounded by collapsing primordial spirits. He shook his body and said, "Hand over the immortal seal. Otherwise, I can heavily injure your young immortal with my next move. You won't be able to recover without a few hundred years. If I really use my full strength, you won't be able to recover even after 1,000 years. You are so unlucky. You were hiding from those heaven immortal disciples, but you didn't expect that. Oomph, I will remember you. That disciple admitted his unlucky luck and obediently condensed the immortal seal. Chi, who knew that at this moment, a stunning primordial spirit energy aura directly turned into a huge hand. When that disciple was condensing the immortal seal, it suddenly attacked from the side. Su Fong suddenly turned around and saw a cave immortal young, immortal disciple hiding in the immortal fog. It turned out that he had been waiting for a chance to effortlessly snatch the fruit. Go. It was fine if it was just a heaven immortal young immortal, but this cave immortal disciple dared to rob him halfway. He spat out a stream of primordial spirit energy flame that was almost like a fire dragon and pounced towards the primordial spirit energy hand. Hoopah! The two divine auras collided, and the primordial spirit energy exploded like sparks and lightning. The huge hand that sneak attacked was actually burned into pieces. It's actually a tough one. That sneak attacker was startled and hastily retreated. In his shock, he took another look at Su Fong before hastily turning around and fleeing. Su Fong looked at that back. That's a disciple of the Defying Immortal Pavilion. It seems that these disciples are not people who follow the rules. Each one is stronger than the other, craftier than the other. Then he turned around and took the immortal seal from that disciple's hand. He looked at it and smiled domineeringly. Second point. 2 points. 3 points left. Remember to give it to me. The disciple who gave up the immortal seal was unhappy and resentful as he disappeared. Why is it that losers always don't truly face their failures? Seeing that disappearing gaze, Su Fong sneered, not treating it as a big deal. Because this was an elimination competition arranged by the sect. If there was any trouble, the sect would directly judge. He put away the immortal seal. He had already obtained 2 points. Next was the third point. Obtaining 5 points will allow you to pass. Obtaining 10 points will allow you to become a cave, immortal disciple of the eternal star. Don't run out of points. Su Fong was so anxious that he flew out of the immortal fog like a hungry tiger. He avoided several powerful heaven, immortal young immortals, and looked around for cave, immortal disciples. Soon, he found another cave, immortal disciple. There were very few cave, immortal young immortals in the surroundings. After all, those heaven immortal young immortals were too domineering. They could sweep through almost any cave, immortal young immortal. Chapter 1002. Getting 2 points didn't arouse Su Fong's domineering aura, because in his eyes, these cave immortal disciples were no match for him. Not to mention young immortals, they couldn't even compare to him in terms of strength. Now, a cave immortal disciple's young immortal was considered powerful. He had just defeated another young immortal and was a little tired. This disciple came from a familiar dojo, which was the Heavenly Cloud Cave Dojo. He flew over. That Heavenly Cloud Cave disciple's cultivation was at the peak of the cave immortal realm. He probably cultivated for thousands of years to reach this realm. After all, it wasn't easy to enter the cave immortal realm. Using the Heavenly Cloud Cave to absorb stars sounded easy, but it was extremely difficult to do. That disciple wasn't an ordinary person. He could cultivate to the cave immortal realm in 10,000 years. And with his young immortal cultivation, he probably got 1 or 2 points. This meant that young immortals were stronger than ordinary people. Huang Fu Dojo's disciple. That person instantly felt something was wrong. A divine aura came from behind him. When he turned around, he saw Su Fong rushing over like starlight. He knew what Su Fong meant. He smiled coldly. It seemed that he wasn't afraid of Huang Fu Dojo's disciples. He also flew up at an astonishing speed. As his hands formed a seal, his young immortal split into 2. Su Fong's gaze froze. Oh, you're really not simple. You can cultivate young immortals to such a state. This way, young immortals can use divine aura and supernatural powers more freely. That disciple was very young, and his speed was getting faster and faster. The two young immortals intertwined with each other and turned into a sky full of primordial spirit sword lights that resembled the seven stars annihilation sword formation. You actually want to take advantage of me? You are gravely mistaken. Cave immortal against cave immortal. My young immortal is almost at the level of a heavenly immortal. What a coincidence. I'm collecting the third point, and you're also collecting the third point. After Su Fong finished speaking, he still attacked with his young immortal alone. He didn't use the Sky Devil Disintegration Seal. Sky Devil Disintegration Seal. It was easy to separate a young immortal from the primordial spirit technique of the Demon Tao. It was even easier to separate two young immortals. They could be divided into hundreds and thousands. This was Su Fong's true young immortal technique. He hadn't even used 1% of his strength. Chi. The two of them rushed into the air and clashed with each other with their Yuan Shun auras. The two Yuan Shun auras rubbed against each other and formed a flame. That disciple was startled. You really do have some skills. Hee, of course I have some tricks up my sleeve. I can see that you're not a simple young immortal. You're quite a character compared to most of the cave immortals. I'm Huangfu Shaoying from Huangfu Dojo. If you don't hold a grudge against me in the future, I'm very willing to be friends with you. You're already a big part of the cave immortals. Huangfu Shaoying, I have to extinguish your arrogance. If you can defeat me, I'll tell you who I am. All right, Chi. The two of them took a step forward at the same time. The disciple fused the dozens of primordial spirit sword Chi that he had been condensing for a long time, forming a primordial spirit sword circle that was more than 10 feet wide. Under the support of this person's mana, the primordial spirit sword formation, along with the rolling primordial spirit divine aura, slashed towards Su Fong like a sword formation from outer space. Sword formation, form. Su Fong had only just formed a seal and absorbed mana. This was the first time he was facing a young immortal. Similarly, a sword chi halo that was twice as powerful as the primordial spirit sword formation. In less than 3 breaths, when the primordial spirit sword formation was in front of him, it went against the momentum and hit the primordial spirit sword formation. Boom, boom. In an instant, the two primordial spirit sword formations were about to crush each other. However, that disciple suddenly couldn't hold it in anymore. He staggered and was thrown off his feet by the momentum. The primordial spirit sword formation was also smashed into pieces. Su Fong stepped on the broken sword chi and quickly passed by. Seeing this, that disciple struggled to control the young immortal and then spat out waves of primordial spirit chi. Pa. Su Fong used the divine might of a young immortal to shatter the essence spirit chi wave with one punch after another. With an imposing manner, he advanced step by step. No matter how the disciple used his primordial spirit chi to resist, he couldn't stop Su Fong's advance. Only when Su Fong suddenly sped up and formed a primordial spirit chain with his palm did he calm down. I'm convinced. You're strong. The man was very quiet and nodded tiredly. He immediately condensed the immortal seal and handed it to Su Fong. Then, without waiting for him to say anything, the entire young immortal disappeared. Third point. He really met a good opponent. However, this person could only be considered to have surpassed most people, but not to the extent that he could fight with his full strength. He didn't think too much about it. He couldn't afford to waste time. Not long after he flew out, he saw two young immortals dodging the heavenly immortal's primordial spirit chi. Clearly, these two people came from the same dojo and seemed to want to join forces to deal with the enemy and obtain points. This was a good idea. That's right. I'm just 2 points away. Let's pass the test first. These two are mine. Seeing the two flying in front of him, Su Fong chased after them without hesitation. If he took down the two of them, he would obtain 5 points and pass the elimination round. With his cave immortal realm and primordial spirit chi, being able to pass the elimination round was already enough to shock countless people. After a few breaths, the two young immortal disciples also seemed to have locked onto their target. Their target was a cave immortal disciple. Su Fong looked from afar and was happy. He actually used his primordial spirit chi to control the immortal mist and secretly watched the two of them join forces to deal with that disciple. The two of them were still fighting. One of them was in charge of sneak attacks, while the other was in charge of holding back that person. They cooperated very well. It seemed that the two of them had a very good relationship in the dojo. It looked like the three of them were fighting fiercely, but in Su Fong's eyes, their moves and primordial spirit chi attacks were very ordinary. Even if the three of them joined forces, he could still suppress all of them in a certain amount of time. However, if he really did that, it would be too shocking. Even heavenly immortal realm geniuses were not so heaven-defying. After waiting for half an incense stick's time, the disciple who was surrounded could no longer hold on. He was extremely tired and would probably admit defeat. It was time. Su Fong stepped on the speed of a flying sword and suddenly jumped out of the immortal cloud. Brother, wait. The two of them were about to use their final move on that disciple to make him submit completely. However, they did not expect a primordial spirit chi to suppress them from above. When they looked up, they saw Su Fong controlling a shocking primordial spirit chi. He turned it into a sword chi halo that was 100 feet in size. The sword chi halo's primordial spirit chi had a suppressive aura that was like Mount Tai pressing down on them. So powerful. Isn't he a cave immortal? He just snatched our prey. The two of them were not ordinary. They could immediately tell that Su Fong was a cave immortal. They were also surprised by Su Fong's primordial spirit sword formation. However, the two of them immediately formed hand seals. However, they were wrong, because Su Fong was controlling the sword formation. His target was them. When they formed hand seals to release the sword formation, it seemed that the formation was not bad. However, Su Fong's speed was even more shocking. The sword chi halo suppressed and landed on the two of them sword formation. In the blink of an eye, the primordial spirit chi's primordial spirit chi was like a landslide. Give it to me. Su Fong did not continue to attack. He took a step forward and suddenly grabbed a sword beam. He passed through the exploding primordial spirit chi and arrived in front of the besieged disciple who was about to escape. This disciple was a heavenly disciple of the star origin realm. He was a cave immortal, and his cultivation level was at the 8 Dao realm. He was considered powerful for being able to survive until now. Huangfu Bodhidharma, you are so powerful. You are suppressing our cave immortal. The man was forced into a corner. He had seen how powerful Su Fong was with his own eyes. The two of them were not his match. Could he, a disciple who was on the verge of collapse, resist? He obediently condensed an immortal seal and handed it to Su Fong. Only then did Su Fong turn around. In a flash, he arrived above the sword formation that was still in a stalemate. He put away the immortal seal and looked at the two resisting experts below. The fourth task is to deal with the young immortal, a cave immortal disciple. To me, obtaining the immortal seal is as easy as taking something out of my pocket. I know you are not convinced, so I will beat you until you are convinced. After obtaining the fourth task, Su Fong looked at the two resisting disciples with a domineering gaze. He then condensed a primordial spirit sword formation. Sword chi constantly roared and released a dazzling light. In an instant, most of the sword formation's remaining power was crushed. So powerful. The two people resisted painfully. However, Su Fong's primordial spirit sword formation was too domineering and sturdy. It was not something that could be easily broken. In the end, the two had no choice but to agree. That's right. The fifth and sixth task. Su Fong arrived in front of the two people from the sword formation's remaining power. After obtaining 2 immortal seals, he smiled slightly, because he had achieved his goal with 5 points. Now that he had 6 points, the rest would be easier. He only had one goal, and that was to collect the remaining 4 points and directly become the eternal star child in this star origin formation elimination competition. Just as he moved, a vast voice rang out. Huangfu Dao writes, Disciple Huangfu Shaoying, you have already collected 5 points. Can you leave the formation? Not for now. Disciple wants to obtain 10 points and become the eternal star child. Su Fong's voice was filled with respect. Obtaining 10 points is good. There aren't many disciples who can aim for 10 points. Everyone who obtains 5 points will immediately pass the test and leave the star origin formation. Go. After that person finished speaking, it was as if he didn't exist. The star origin formation was truly powerful. Although it looked like it was used to test disciples, there were actually countless higher-ups and powerful disciples guarding the formation's inner world. He had to collect the next 4 points as quickly as possible. Before long, he encountered another immortal cave disciple. That person was also very powerful. He had already collected 4 points. He was just 1 point away from success. When he encountered Su Fong, he thought he had found food. But in less than 2 moves, he was defeated by Su Fong. He had to hand over the divine seal, allowing Su Fong to obtain the 7th point. Unfortunately, the rules of the star origin formation were cruel. If someone had already obtained a few points and defeated that person would not be able to obtain the points of that person. Therefore, the star origin formation elimination competition was very strict. In less than an hour, Su Fong had obtained the 8th and 9th points. He was 1 point away from obtaining 10 points and completing his goal to become the Eternal Star Child. However, there were very few young Immortal Cave disciples. Most of them were heavenly immortal geniuses. Swish, just when he was looking for prey and was about to accumulate 10 points, a nascent soul suddenly came from behind him. Su Fong took a look and saw that it was a woman. The woman's robe had some clouds on it. It was either colorful or silver. Ruo Shui Spiritual Land. This woman was a disciple of the mysterious Tao, right? Ruo Shui Spiritual Land. She was also a genius. Even though she was only at the 9th Immortal Cave realm, her young immortal was very powerful. She did not seem to be at the Immortal Cave realm. Instead, she was a heavenly immortal. Part of the woman's young immortal was transparent, but her robe was very real. Her face was delicate and pretty. She did not have any heavy makeup on. She stared at Su Fong and said, "Do you want me to attack, or do you want to hand over the divine seal? I'm just 1 point away. If you hand it over, everything will be over. Also, there are only heavenly immortals around. There are not many Immortal Cave disciples left. You have no hope. I'm sorry. You have found the wrong person. I'm also looking for Immortal Cave disciples, but not you." He did not expect such a beautiful woman to be so powerful. Su Fong suddenly sped up and flew past the woman to the other side of the fog. Chapter 1003. The female disciple who was left behind was in disbelief. She stopped abruptly and floated in the air. This person is clearly a cave immortal. I don't remember the disciples of Huang Fu Dojo. Among the cave immortal geniuses, there isn't such a person. Most of the cave immortal disciples in Huang Fu Dojo are trying to break through to the heaven immortal realm in the past 1,000 years. For example, Di Qingyue is one of them. Could this person be a hidden genius? But I don't think so. After all, the outer dojos are all cave immortals and a small number of heaven immortals. This person gives me the feeling that he is just an ordinary young immortal. So he hid his cultivation, that speed, and that calm gaze just now. Even heaven immortal geniuses wouldn't be as calm and profound as him. He is a character. I don't really care about the elimination round, especially at the last moment. I can't let my guard down. The woman focused for a moment and then flew in another direction. A real man doesn't fight with a woman. In another immortal fog, Su Fong was shuttling through. He thought of the budding girl from before, but he didn't have the slightest intention to fight. If it was a man, he wouldn't be polite. Yes, after searching many places and shuttling through the immortal fog, he didn't find any cave immortals or young immortals. Could it be that he had to take back the 10th point from a heaven immortal genius disciple? But at this moment, a cave immortal young immortal suddenly flew over from the clouds ahead and came straight at them. It was like finding something without any effort after searching high and low for it. Oh, that person also saw Su Fong and was surprised. Then, he became complacent and suddenly sped up. A primordial spirit wave suddenly locked onto Su Fong's back. This person was in his early 20s. He was very handsome and looked like a pale-faced scholar. However, the way he looked at Su Fong was filled with a bone-chilling coldness. As he stared at Su Fong, he said arrogantly, So the last point was taken from you. At this point in the elimination round, usually the cave immortals are the first to be eliminated. They're all weak. I guess there are only a few cave immortals left in this star origin formation. I didn't expect one to be sent to me. Another disciple from the star origin realm. Sufang's path of retreat was blocked by the airwaves, but he was not in a hurry. This was because the person in front of him was his last opponent. A ninth Tao realm cave immortal from the star origin realm. You are indeed a genius. Furthermore, your young immortal is also outstanding. No wonder you are so arrogant. Disciple of the Huangfu Training Hall, I won't hold back. The man suddenly released his energy and created gusts of wind that made his white robe flutter in the air. Ho in a split second, an astonishing sword formation primordial spirit halo appeared in front of Su Fang under the man's divine power and the celestial seal. It was only 10 feet away. Oh, so you admitted defeat of your own accord. Seeing that Su Fang did not move at all and was like a block of wood, the man smiled in surprise. Coincidentally, he also stopped condensing his hand seals. It seemed like he wanted to stop attacking. However, Su Fang raised his hand at this moment. Your young immortal's divine power is so powerful. Come on, I will defeat you and leave this star origin formation. I, Nangong Jun, am a genius of the star origin realm. You are just a disciple of the Huangfu Training Hall. You are not famous. You are not a genius like Di Qingyue or Yin Rongrong. You're just boasting. Nangong Jun snorted. He was not angry. He felt that he had been tricked by Su Fang. In a split second, the sword formation halo became even more amazing. In the halo, each sword chi condensed by the primordial spirit was arranged neatly. It could be seen that Nangong Jun had been cultivating diligently. He had cultivated the sword formation to such a high level that he had surpassed most of the cave immortal disciples. Coupled with his ninth Tao realm cave immortal cultivation, he would soon become a celestial immortal. Come on. Su Fang also formed a seal in an instant. A sword formation halo that was less than 1/3 the size of his opponent was turning into a sword chi sword formation with the primordial spirit as the source. You have some skills, but your realm seems to be insignificant. It is not a big deal to be a young immortal. I, Nangong Jun, will let you know what a genius is. I am not afraid of any genius. Pa! Nangong Jun suddenly took a step forward and soared into the sky. The primordial spirit sword formation that he had released was also as light as a feather. It was like a sea of primordial spirit clouds formed by sword chi that pressed down on Su Fang. It was only a distance of 10 feet. In the blink of an eye, Su Fang let go of his hand and struck the sword array. Boom! The sword formation was like a huge flying sword that struck the even bigger sword formation. The two of them shook at almost the same time. Nangong Jun's powerful sword formation suddenly seemed to have encountered a huge force that it could not suppress. The huge force had the momentum to move mountains and rivers. It rose into the sky and actually shattered a portion of the sword formation. Bang! Su Fang released another sword formation. It was still not as huge as the sword formation above. Furthermore, while Nangong Jun was still in shock, the sword formation struck the huge sword formation with lightning speed. This time, the sword formation was completely suppressed. You are an expert. Ruthless. Only then did Nangong Jun realize that he had met his match. He was in a sorry state as he was pushed back by the sword formation. His primordial spirit's divine might was also being shattered. He was forced to activate his young immortal. A primordial spirit golden armor condensed on his body. Then, a third more sword chi than before appeared around him. It immediately transformed into a sword formation. Su Fang quickly approached. When he saw the sword formation, he sneered. Nangong Jun, is this your full strength? You are quite powerful. You can surpass most cave immortals. You are almost comparable to a heaven immortal. You are courting death. If I release my full strength, you will not be able to resist. Go. Then you can try. He condensed a sword formation. It still did not look domineering or powerful, especially when Nangong Jun's strength flew down from above. It felt like the other party was a huge mountain that wanted to crush his small mountain peak. It was also under such a shocking disparity in vision and strength that Su Fong's sword formation rose abruptly. With another rumble, it once again blocked the suppression of the gigantic sword formation above. It was filled with the explosive force of the shattering of the primordial spirit. Tut tut tut. Nangong Jun shook along with the sword formation. His young immortal danced crazily. His hand suppressed the primordial spirit's aura, and his aura supported and controlled the sword formation. There was another sword formation explosion. This time, Su Fong doubled the size of the sword formation. He pushed the sword formation with his palm and hit the other party's sword formation with a bang. Rumble. This time, it was not a collision. Instead, it directly shattered the other party's sword formation. Layer after layer, sword chi after sword chi shattered. These sword formations and sword chi were all formed by primordial spirits. Therefore, when they shattered, they formed a shocking primordial spirit's divine might. Pa! Finally, as the sword formation collapsed and shattered, Nangong Jun, who was controlling the sword formation, was instantly overturned. The young immortal's divine might around him was shattered. Su Fong was still calm. He did not use his full strength. He passed through the shattered sword formation. Nangong Jun, you are a genius and indeed powerful. However, in the end, I still won. Sorry, your immortal seal is mine. I also want to successfully leave this star origin formation. Don't be so smug. You are just an ant-like disciple. Do you know who I am? If you have the ability, you and I can call more people over and fight openly. Openly? Weren't we just fighting openly? I, Nangong Jun, am not convinced. I don't believe you are my match. If you're not convinced, that is your business. If you don't believe me, that is also your business. I only look at the result. Moreover, I know that your immortal seal will be mine. If you don't hand it over, I will beat you until you hand it over. You are just an ordinary disciple. After Nangong Jun was pushed back, he immediately stabilized his body. His young immortal's divine might was disappearing. It was clear that after fighting Su Fong with all his strength, he did not have much strength left. However, Su Fong's speed was increasing. In less than 2 breaths, he could suppress Nangong Jun. Who dares to harm my brother? Unexpectedly, a majestic voice suddenly sounded from behind Nangong Jun. Yes. When Su Fong heard it, he knew that this voice was not simple. A young immortal was very domineering. Give it to me. He increased his speed. In a breath's time, he would use his divine might to snatch the treasure from Nangong Jun. You still dare to attack. Whoosh! Suddenly, a primordial spirit flying sword came from behind Nangong Jun. There were many chains on it. It was obviously a terrifying primordial spirit attack. Brother! Nangong Jun suddenly leaped over. He cooperated well with the primordial spirit flying sword. Su Fong's divine might also reached over and clashed with the primordial spirit flying sword. They clashed, and Su Fong was pushed back. That primordial spirit sword, Qi, also exploded. Whoosh! Suddenly, a few extraordinary young immortals appeared. They were actually 3 heaven immortal young immortals. Moreover, they were all peerless geniuses of the star origin realm. The one in the middle looked 60% similar to Nangong Jun. It was obvious that they were brothers. Run! Seeing that the situation was not good, Su Fong immediately ran away. Whoosh! However, the 2 heaven immortal geniuses were even faster and reacted in time. In an instant, they flew to the left and the right, blocking Su Fong's path. Nangong Jun was very angry, but he was also very pleased. He looked at the man who looked very similar to him and said, Brother, this guy is not simple. His young immortal is very domineering. You have to avenge me. I want his immortal seal. The man said indifferently, You bullied my little brother, and you still want to leave safely? There is no such thing in this world. Brother Xiao, if you take down this disciple, you can also obtain the immortal seal. The 2 experts blocking the way said embarrassedly, acting as if this matter did not concern them. Nangong Xiao suddenly stared at Nangong Jun. You are also useless. You can't even defeat a cave immortal. Aren't you known as the #1 cave immortal expert in the sect? Brother, this person is a freak. I can't fight him even with my full strength. Nangong Jun was like a child, not daring to speak loudly. You have to know that there is always someone stronger. I, Nangong Xiao, am a #1 genius of the Star Origin realm, but I will not look down on any opponent. Yes, I still have many things to learn from brother. How lively! Just as Nangong Xiao was about to attack after being surrounded by several heavenly immortal experts, a young immortal suddenly appeared. Unexpectedly, a young immortal flew over from the side, and he was also a heavenly immortal expert. When he saw this scene, he seemed to know what had happened. Then, he sneered at Nangong Xiao. Nangong Xiao, you are also a peerless genius of the Star Origin realm. You have long since become one of the 10 great eternal star children in this competition of 10,000 years. Yet, you are willing to fight against a grotto immortal with a few others. Nangong Xiao sized up this male young immortal and said politely, Liao Tian, this has nothing to do with you. It also has nothing to do with your immortal defying pavilion. This brat bullied my little brother. How can I let him go? Furthermore, for the elimination round, attacking a cave immortal disciple is also within the rules of the competition. Liao Tian from the immortal defying pavilion looked around. Ha, look, I'm not the only one here. There are others watching all of this from the shadows. You have no shame. If you are really someone, you can find a heavenly immortal expert to fight. Nangong Xiao wanted to protect him to the end. He walked forward step by step. I don't want his immortal seal. I am just venting for my brother. If you want to watch, just watch. If I violate any rules, I will naturally stop. Chapter 1004. Liao Tian from the Celestial Defying Pavilion sneered, Ha! You're a peerless expert of the Celestial Origin realm. Why do you have to attack a cave immortal? Shouldn't cave immortals solve their own problems? I don't care about other people's problems, but here, Chi. After Nangong Xiao finished speaking, his aura was overbearing. He began to walk forward step by step, as if it was his responsibility to deal with a cave immortal. Brotherly watched the show. Suddenly, a few more young immortals appeared. They had a good relationship with Liao Tian from the Celestial Defying Pavilion. Nangong Xiao didn't stop when he saw them appear. It seemed that no one could stop him today. Moreover, some young immortals who were passing by stopped to watch the show when they saw so many celestial immortals gathered together. It's him. There were dozens of people around watching the show. One of them was a woman. She was the woman from the Ruoshui spiritual land who had almost attacked Su Fang. Although she was only a cave immortal, in the eyes of those celestial immortal geniuses, this cave immortal woman had power that they couldn't underestimate. In everyone's eyes, only Su Fang was left. He was a lamb that was about to be killed by Nangong Xiao. Many people looked at him with pity and sympathy. Little did they know, Su Fang's heart was in turmoil. I'm just 1 point away from accumulating 10 points and becoming the Eternal Star Sun. Why do they have to go against me with just 1 point? Nangong Xiao is a genius of the Celestial Origin realm. He's probably an expert on the same level as Di Qingyue from the Huangfu Dojo. A celestial immortal disciple wants to attack me. Since it's come to this, I won't surrender. Most importantly, I've already completed my goal and accumulated 9 points. So what if I can't get that 1 point? I've already passed the elimination round. Since I can't become the Eternal Star Sun, I must fight this celestial immortal disciple, Nangong Xiao. I want to see how big the gap is between a celestial immortal and a cave immortal disciple. If I can't win, I can condense an immortal cloud and leave. He can't do anything to me. Su Fang, who couldn't go anywhere, was stuck in the air. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed. He walked step by step toward Nangong Xiao. The eyes of the surrounding geniuses were filled with disbelief. They couldn't understand the motives of a grotto immortal disciple. On the contrary, Nangong Xiao stopped in her tracks, and her innate arrogance was ignited. Brat, are you going to take the initiative to hand over the immortal seal and kowtow to my brother to admit your mistake? Su Fang smiled calmly and said, In my entire life, I've never admitted my wrongs. I even have to kowtow to my knees. Why would I kneel to you? Impudent. You dare to act so recklessly in front of my brother. Before Nangong Xiao could get angry, Nangong Jun, who was standing behind her, flew into a rage. Don't worry. Is he going to jump? Nangong Xiao's tone was as cold as ice. Nangong Jun, if your strength was as great as your mouth, you wouldn't have asked your brother to come out. Speaking of which, you, Nangong Jun, are still stronger than many 9 Dao Realm Grotto Immortals. Su Fong spoke again. I'm from Huang Fu Dojo, an insignificant and ordinary disciple. But I'm not a pushover. Even if I'm an ant, I have to fight back. Nangong Xiao's face turned cold. You're infuriating me. Whether I infuriate you or not, you won't let me go. My fate is to be defeated by you. You'll step on my body and take away my immortal seal. Since that's my fate, why don't I choose to change it? Either way, I'll fail. That way, I can give it a try. Like I said before, although I'm an ant, the fact that I'm standing here means that I'm also a part of the competition. If you want to stand up for your brother, or if you want face, then come. If I'm not strong enough, I won't make a sound. I've seen many lowly people like you. Let's not waste everyone's time. Losers can't change their fate no matter what. Whoosh! Who would have thought that a grand celestial immortal disciple, a genius from the star origin realm heaven, would ignore everyone's gazes and openly attack a grotto immortal? In truth, this also showed how merciless and cruel the cultivation laws of the constellation of 9 heavens were. Without strength, one could only be suppressed like this. In less than a breath's time, Nangong Xiao rushed towards Su Fong with a crushing momentum. After his young immortal's divine aura exploded, it turned into a shocking wave of divine aura that was dozens of feet long. Furthermore, the wave quickly turned into an ocean. Primordial Spirit Ocean. Although it was only a primordial spirit ocean, it could be seen how shocking divine aura Nangong Xiao's primordial spirit was. She was determined to defeat Su Fong to vent her anger. I saw how extraordinary he was just now. Can you overcome this fate? You, who came from Huang Fu Dao, right? Give me the feeling that you're hiding your strength. I'm also a grotto immortal, and you're also a grotto immortal. Let's fight for our dignity. Let's fight for a stick of incense. Don't embarrass our grotto immortals. The grotto immortal woman from the Ruoshui spiritual land also attracted the attention of some male celestial immortal disciples. However, her gaze was fixed on Su Fong, who was in front of her. When Su Fong faced the powerful divine aura ocean, he did not retreat in fright. He instantly spread his hands, and a shocking aura surged into his body. When fighting against such an expert, the outcome will be decided with a single move. As soon as his primordial spirit aura ocean erupted, he saw Nangong Jun turn the primordial spirit ocean into a surging primordial spirit river. He stepped on the primordial spirit river and controlled it to attack and devour Su Fong. A grotto immortal disciple like him would not be able to withstand a single attack. Primordial spirit, pure yang flame. Su Fong formed a seal seriously for the first time. He did not have much time, and he did not expect to fight a celestial immortal expert in the star origin formation. Fortunately, there were only a few dozen people here. Even if he went all out, not many people would see him. Break! The primordial spirit river leaped 10 feet high and rushed over with Nangong Xiao's roar. Chi-chi. On the other hand, Su Fong calmed down and formed a seal. Suddenly, with him as the center, the young immortal's primordial spirit flame ignited. Primordial spirit, true flame. I did not expect a grotto immortal to be able to cultivate a young immortal's flame. This is a primordial spirit, true flame, that can only be born when the primordial spirit has reached the pinnacle and is combined with a divine ability. So it's that powerful. Nangong Xiao, I'm afraid you won't succeed. The surrounding celestial immortal disciples were all dumbstruck. Previously, they were all sympathetic, but now they saw how terrifying Su Fong's young immortal was. As expected, the girl from Ruoshui also opened her watery eyes wide. Spirit overturning clouds. Nangong Xiao held back his shock and controlled the primordial spirit river. Like a golden primordial spirit beast, it opened its mouth towards the burning primordial spirit flame. Primordial spirit, sword formation, rise. Su Fong immediately used the demonic disintegration seal secretly. To deal with this celestial immortal expert, he had to use his true ability. Buzz, buzz, buzz within the burning primordial spirit flame. It turned into a burning primordial spirit sword formation and fused together. With a palm strike, it attacked the primordial spirit river that was biting down from above. This scene attracted everyone's attention. One was a peerless genius from a Star Origin world. The other was an ordinary grotto immortal disciple from Huang Fu Training Hall. Originally, there was no doubt about this fight, but now it became unpredictable. Boom! The primordial spirit river hit the burning sword formation. The dazzling impact made everyone realize that Su Fong's sword formation was actually in a stalemate with the power of the primordial spirit river. What a genius! A grotto immortal disciple from Huang Fu Training Hall. It seems like his cultivation has not reached the 9th Dao realm of the grotto immortal realm. It's a pity that it's not easy to see a young immortal's cultivation. Dozens of people exclaimed in surprise. Two sword formations kept exploding from Su Fong, who was in a burning state. One after another, they cooperated with the sword formation above to deal with the impact of the primordial spirit river. A grotto immortal and a celestial immortal publicly entered a stalemate in front of countless people. One side was constantly activating the surging primordial spirit river, while the other side was constantly burning primordial spirit true fire sword formation. Previously, one side was strong and the other was weak, but now it was impossible to see who was stronger. Su Fong suddenly raised his voice. Nangong Xiao, you are a genius, and I'm just a grotto immortal. If you can't even defeat me, how can you be called a genius? By the way, I'm still an ordinary disciple. I'm just a follower of baby Huang Fu from Huang Fu Training Hall. If you can't even defeat a follower like me, you will definitely be defeated by my young master if you meet him. What? You're really that Playboy's follower? Unexpectedly, above the primordial spirit river, Nangong Xiao suddenly trembled. His head buzzed, and he was shocked by Su Fong's words. A servant, a follower. He was so angry that he controlled the remaining primordial spirit river with both hands, forming an even more devouring force. Wave after wave rolled into the sword formation, shattering it. However, Su Fong was also constantly forming seals. Sword formations were added to it, making his small grotto immortal yang immortal seem to have infinite power. After about half an incense stick's worth of time, Nangong Xiao used up his strongest primordial spirit river, but he still couldn't defeat Su Fong. He also started to form a sword formation. It's about time. What they didn't know was that a shocking golden armor suddenly formed on Su Fong's yang immortal. The defense of the primordial spirit was similar to the flesh fetus divine armor. Then, the 7-star killing sword formation that everyone was familiar with formed in the sky. However, it was mainly formed by the primordial spirit. This time, the sword formation suddenly became 100 feet large. This is his primordial spirit. How can it be so powerful? Impossible, impossible. It completely surpassed the grotto immortal level. It's even more powerful than an ordinary sky immortal. This scene was beyond everyone's expectations. They all widened their eyes as they saw Su Fong's 100 feet large sword formation above Nangong Xiao, who was releasing the sword formation. Oh! Su Fong heaved a sigh of relief. The primordial spirit flames on his body suddenly disappeared. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking like an expert who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. Chi! Unexpectedly, he suddenly flashed in the sky. He didn't take the opportunity to attack Nangong Xiao, but Nangong Jun brother. When Nangong Jun appeared, Su Fong's state had already reached its peak. As soon as Nangong Jun regained his wits after shouting for help, Su Fong's palm struck his chest. Wung Wung, Su Fong reached out and plucked out a seal from Nangong Jun's body. Nangong Jun's despair reached its peak. This is mine. This is mine. I want to become the eternal star sun. Ah. On the other side, Nangong Xiu's miserable cries and roars came from the primordial spirit sword intent that had exploded and collapsed under the sword formation. Unfortunately, Nangong Jun disappeared as he stared blankly at Su Fong grabbing his immortal seal. That kind of unwillingness. From this moment on, Su Fong would probably be Nangong Jun's nightmare for the rest of his life. What a powerful move. I thought he was going to take the opportunity to deal with Nangong Xiu. I didn't expect him to use such a clever move. He caught Nangong Jun off guard, took the immortal seal, and kicked that brat away. Many experts finally understood. None of them looked at Su Fong with arrogance. That was because Su Fong was just as strong as them. Chapter 1005. Success. At this moment, Nangong Xiu no longer existed in Su Fong's heart. He also didn't care about those heavenly immortal geniuses. There was only the immortal seal in his hand. 10 points. He had finally accumulated enough points. Starting now, according to the rules, he had surpassed everyone here. He had jumped from the star origin formation to the eternal star sun. He felt that the immortal seal in his hand was like that dream he had been chasing for a long time. It had been so real, but after obtaining it, it had become so blurry. What a genius. He's like a completely different person from that baby Huangfu. He really is a follower of that Huangfu young master. I don't believe it. In the distance, in the celestial fog, the female cultivator from Ruoshui Spirit Land watched the entire process. Her gaze became even deeper as she stared at Su Fong before she immediately turned around and flew away. Boom! At the center, the collapsed sword energy and the river of Yuan spirit were suddenly shattered by a fist with the momentum of a fierce tiger. Then, the genius of a generation, Nangong Xiu, walked out step by step with great difficulty. There was no remnant Yuan spirit power in her eyes, only Su Fong, who floated in front of her with a slightly lonely expression. The genius from the immortal defying pavilion, Li Yaotian, was also preparing to leave with several other experts. Seeing that unwilling gaze, he sneered. Nangong Xiu, I didn't think you would have such a day. I already told you not to bully others. They didn't have a choice. You deserved it. Scram. Nangong Xiu was infuriated. He dragged his exhausted body, ignoring everything. The only thing he could see was Su Fong. Stinking brat. I, Nangong Xiu, have never suffered such a great humiliation. Where do you think you're going? Where do I run to? Putting away the immortal seal, Su Fong turned to face Nangong Xiu. You are also a genius, a person with strength. But I'm just a minor character, but I have a backbone. Also, don't be so shameless. In your current state, if you fight me again, I won't see you as my senior apprentice brother. I'll respect you a bit. I could have taken your immortal seal. Nangong Xiu suddenly trembled, as if he was really frightened by Su Fong. He condensed his cold aura and raised his heartbeat. You snatched away my brother's immortal seal and ruined his great future, yet you're still gloating over his misfortune. How can I let you off so easily? If that's the case, then the other losers have all lost their futures. I find it laughable. Cultivators rely on their own hard work. If you can't become the eternal star sun, then can't you become an expert in the future? Come, let's determine the victor. There's no need for that. You're a genius at the heavenly immortal realm. There's no need for me to fight with you to such an extent. Are you scared? Nangong Xiu, I'm just an ordinary disciple. I'm not afraid of you. But Su Fong suddenly appeared in front of Nangong Xiu and the other spectating experts. No one knew how he was going to resolve this. Nangong Xiu continued to press on. But what he didn't expect was seeing Nangong Xiu closing in. Su Fong actually waved his hand and grabbed. Immortal seals flew out in front of him. There were a total of 10 immortal seals, and Su Fong also shot out an immortal seal. 10 immortal seals. According to the rules, he's already the eternal star sun. The rules have changed this time. No one dares to get 10 points, but a cave immortal like him has done it. The spectating genius's eyes were glued to Nangong Xiu. Nangong Shio suddenly took a step back and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Only now did she understand why Su Fong was so fearless. He had actually accumulated 10 points and was already the Eternal Star Sun. You used my brother's future to exchange for the Eternal Star Sun. Nangong Shio wiped her blood and calmed down. After all, she was a heavenly immortal disciple. However, the way he looked at Su Fong was like a meat grinder flickering with a gloomy light. Su Fong released his aura and looked at Nangong Shio once more. This is the elimination round, and it's a star origin formation. I'm just doing what I should do. If you want to cause trouble for me in the future, I can accompany you at any time. But for now, I won't accompany you. Channel guidance. Suddenly, a Xian Guang enveloped Su Fong's young immortal. Good luck. Nangong Shio cupped her fists towards Su Fong. A breeze blew, and Su Fong's young immortal completely disappeared, leaving behind the heavenly immortal geniuses who were discussing. Outside the star origin formation, Huangfu Training Hall's camp. At this time, there were no longer thousands of disciples. Only a few hundred were still sitting cross-legged. Most of the others had returned to the back and sat down. Most of them were very tired, and some of them had already floated to the high-level area. Those disciples had successfully obtained 5 points and could participate in the second round. The remaining few hundred people were still persevering. Most of them were in the heavenly immortal realm, and only a few of them were in the cave immortal realm. Looking at them sitting cross-legged, they were all sweating profusely. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh at this time. More than 20 people flew over from the star origin formation and the high-level area. All of them were high-level members, and some disciples in charge of the star origin formation were also flying towards Huangfu Training Hall. As for the high-level members of Huangfu Training Hall, such as Huangfu Duan and Huangfu Yanhai, they didn't know what was going on. Why were so many high-level members suddenly flying toward them? They hurriedly rushed over. The other disciples were also very confused and didn't know what was going on. The surrounding training halls were also attracted by this scene. About 50 to 60 high-level members arrived above the hundreds of disciples. Before the high-level members of Huangfu Training Hall could figure out what was going on, they suddenly looked at Su Fong, who was sitting cross-legged. But at this time, a few young immortals appeared from the star origin formation. They were experts protecting Su Fong's young immortal. After forming the hand seals and using the power of the formation, Su Fong's young immortal immediately returned to his original body, and the high-level young immortals returned to the formation. Comfortable, Su Fong felt a sense of reality, but at this moment, he was very tired. After all, a young immortal had been out of his body for a long time. Even an expert would be exhausted. An old man who came from the high-level camp looked at Su Fong, and he seemed to have the same status as Qiu Ranjing. He looked at everyone. When everyone saw that he was about to speak, they all fell silent. The old man said, "Senior brothers and junior brothers, after the supervision and confirmation of the disciples in the formation, your disciple Huangfu Shaoying has successfully defeated 10 disciples and accumulated 10 points. She is the only disciple in this year's competition to obtain 10 points in the elimination round and become the Eternal Star Sun." Really? Huangfu Duan, Huangfu Yanhai, and the other high-level members of Huangfu Training Hall, including the genius disciple Huangfu Xiao, were all shocked. They all looked at Su Fong. Under everyone's gaze, Su Fong stood up shakily, almost fainting. He was very tired and didn't even have the strength to salute everyone. He was obviously pretending. With his primordial spirit cultivation, he could instantly return to his previous state. He just didn't want the high-level members to know that he was too extraordinary. Huangfu Yanhai suddenly praised, Good. I didn't expect that the first disciple to be directly promoted to the Eternal Star Sun would be from our training hall. You guys continue to be in charge. I'm going to take him to see the high-level elders." No one expected that the Eternal Star Sun would be born so soon. The old man said a few words to everyone. Then, he led a dozen experts, and 2 of them supported Su Fong. In front of countless people, they directly took Su Fong to the high-level camp. At this moment, many disciples were sizing up Su Fong. Damn it, he's the Eternal Star Sun, an elite disciple. If we want to get rid of him, we'll have to spend more energy. Huang Fu and Hai, are you happy now? You must get rid of my adopted son. The high-level members of Huang Fu Training Hall left the front of the Star Origin formation and discussed Su Fong. Another person was also staring at Su Fong. It was Huang Fu and Hai. He didn't say that Su Fong was a genius, but he was thinking of a way to get rid of Su Fong in the future. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Su Fong flew over the Star Origin formation under the protection of the high-level members, attracting the attention of all the geniuses who had passed the elimination round. They were all discussing who this amazing disciple was. Above the high-level members of Huang Fu Training Hall, the junior elder Qiu Ranzheng and a few other old men were also sizing up Su Fong, who was gradually flying over. Junior apprentice brother Qiu, I didn't think that your Dao right would produce such a good seedling in the past 10,000 years. One of them was a white-haired old man with a pair of thunderous eyes. His domineering gaze was filled with admiration for Su Fong. This kid is Huang Fu Shaoying. Since the beginning of the internal testing, his performance has been extraordinary. The high-level members of the training hall have been secretly paying attention to him. Qiu Ranjing was very polite to the old man with thunderous eyes. He said slowly, "It's just that I never expected this kid to have such potential and be so extraordinary in the Star Origin formation. In the past 10,000 years, he's the only one in our sect who has become the eternal star sun at the cave immortal realm. He's a good seedling." The old man with thunderous eyes kept praising the high-level members around him. While praising, some of the high-level members also said that Su Fong was a cultivator who had surpassed his level. All kinds of praises were endless. Under the guidance of the high-level members, Su Fong even saw the baby Huang Fu among the geniuses who had qualified for the competition. He also saw the girl from the Ruoshui spiritual land who had almost attacked him before. Qi Yinzi. As soon as he landed, Su Fong didn't have time to look at the high-level members. Instead, he was attracted by a man with long red hair among the elite disciples behind them. After secretly glancing at him, he continued to walk forward with the high-level members. As soon as he saw Qiu Ranzheng, Su Fong first bowed to him. Qiu Ranzheng was full of praise for Su Fong. After a while, he introduced him to the old man with thunderous eyes. "This is our sect's punishment elder. You can call him Elder Qi. Greetings, Elder Qi." He quickly bowed to the old man with thunderous eyes. No wonder this person was so overbearing and strict. It turned out that he was a punishment elder, and Qiu Ranjing was just a small elder in a dojo. This Elder Qi must be an official elder who had great power. Elder Qi nodded. "Young people are very energetic. Your skin and hair are seeping with the Star Palace's true Qi and very pure world Qi. It shows that you have worked hard to cultivate our sect's small phase art to have such brilliant achievements." Su Fong was an unfamiliar face in front of the high-level members. "I'm not talented. I'm only in the cave immortal realm. If it wasn't for Miss Huang Fu's nurturing and Elder Qiu's care, I wouldn't have such opportunities. This is all thanks to the sect. I'll cultivate more diligently in the future and do my best for the sect in the future." Xiao Fei indeed has a pair of discerning eyes. Speaking of Xiao Fei, I reckon he's about to enter a new realm. Although Elder Qi looked overbearing and didn't like to smile, his tone now was very friendly. Qiu Ranjing bowed to Elder Qi. "Next, I'll let Xiaoying become the Eternal Star Sun first and choose a dojo." "That's good. Young people with such potential and hard work deserve such treatment." Elder Qi agreed. He ordered people to protect Qiu Ranjing and brought Su Fong to the back. Among the surrounding higher-ups, there were also experts from Huang Fu Dojo. They all looked at this genius who had suddenly appeared, as dazzling as the wise eye. When they arrived at the back, Qiu Ranjing suddenly injected a stream of mana into Su Fong's body. He wanted to help Su Fong recover and let him sit down first. I thought he was one of those seedlings who was often talked about and would receive special treatment from the sect. Yes, I didn't expect him to be such an unknown disciple. This person is indeed talented. He looks very ordinary, but he's not simple. He's so young and his cultivation isn't high, but he has such a calm mind. Chapter 1006. Not far away, the elite disciples, and the dozens of people who were with Qi Yinzi were also discussing Su Fang. Su Fang sensed that these people were not in the heavenly immortal realm, but had surpassed the heavenly immortal realm. Especially Qi Yinzi, who dared to compete with Dai Yi and fought for the exotic flame seed with those experts in the lonesome flame plains of the Huangzi astral world. These people were definitely far beyond the heavenly immortal realm. They were elites. Looking at these disciples, Su Fang rested while absorbing the Dharma power from Qiu Ranjing. Qiu Ranjing also gave him a lot of middle-grade immortal essence pills. In front of many people, Su Fang also began to swallow immortal essence pills. At this time, Qiu Ranjing and a few higher-ups from Huangfu Dojo came to Su Fang. Qiu Ranjing said, "Xiaoying, you are indeed a genius. From the internal testing of the dojo to the elimination round, your potential has been shown to everyone. You have made a name for our dojo. You are also the first person in history to become the Eternal Star Child with a cultivation of the dual immortal realm. Next, you will choose a sect and be conferred the title of Eternal Star Child. You will also become an elite disciple, but there are some things you must know. Please enlighten me, Elder Qiu." Su Fang nodded humbly. "Our sect is divided into 3 major dojos. The ordinary one is called the Outer Dao Dojo. The elite one is called the Inner Dao Dojo. Finally, there are the special dojos, which are for the elite disciples. Our sect's disciples, starting from the nominal disciples, begin to cultivate in the Outer Dao Dojo. Through cultivation, they can show their potential and then enter the Inner Dao Dojo. How far they can go and whether they can enter the special dojo depends on their potential and contribution to the sect. Huangfu Training Hall is only an external training hall, but the disciples who leave here are all members of Huangfu Training Hall. The internal training hall is also different from the external training hall. There are only training halls, and disciples are not allowed to exchange identities. Even if you become an elder in the future, or one of those special disciples, you will still be a member of Huangfu Training Hall. Internal Dao temples are very different from external Dao temples. In external Dao temples, you can cultivate energy arts and divine abilities. But in internal Dao temples, you can cultivate all sorts of extraordinary abilities. For example, you can concoct pills, forge equipment, set up spell formations, appraise treasures, search for treasures, divine abilities, energy arts, and spirit arts of heaven and earth. That's what I want to ask you. Are you interested in any of those aspects? If you don't, you can just go to another Dao temple." Qiu Ranjing's tone was full of concern. Although Su Fang appeared to be in a state of shock, he had actually thought about this problem a long time ago. This was because when he entered the constellation of 9 heavens, he had already determined his goal. Powerful. He had a strong foundation and had come to the outside world with the goal of finding Changsheng and taking back the 3rd portion of the violet energy magical spirit. Therefore, he had to think of ways to fuse with the purple Qi Dharma spirit in his right arm. He had to strive to fuse with it to a certain extent in the future. Then, he could use most of the purple Qi Dharma spirit in his right arm to sense the whereabouts of the 3rd purple Qi Dharma spirit. This would make it easier to obtain it in the future and fuse with it in a short period of time. Therefore, you want to go to the treasure refining arcane pocket realm. Looking at Qiu Ranjing, his eyes shone with respect. If the Taoist temple doesn't have any special arrangements, then I'll go to the treasure refining Taoist temple and focus on the treasure refining Tao temple. Clever. Such an answer made Qiu Ranjing reveal a pleasantly surprised and gratified smile. He stroked his beard. The treasure refining secret realm is known as the treasure refining secret realm. Blacksmiths are very popular in the outside world, but there aren't many people who truly cultivate there, and those who can become treasure refining grandmasters are even fewer. It's good that you have such ambition. The Taoist temple has also considered that every eternal star child who passed the competition will enter one of the secret realms to cultivate. But I didn't expect that the first eternal star child would be you. Since the Taoist temple has arranged it, then I'm a disciple of the Taoist temple. Su Fang was extremely quiet. But after thinking about it, if you can really become a grandmaster in the treasure refining Tao temple, then it'll be a contribution to the Taoist temple. The Taoist temple respects every disciple's ambition. Since your heart is focused on refining, then I'll go to the treasure refining secret realm. After you enter, you must have the ambition to become a Grandmaster treasure refining Tao temple. Disciple will still focus on the Taoist temple. Refining can wait. Don't worry about it. It's good that you have the intention to contribute to the dojo. Fortunately, there are always some disciples who have entered the treasure weapon secret realm to learn how to forge weapons. Unfortunately, none of them have been able to become famous in the treasure weapon secret realm and become a genius in forging weapons. Disciple is stupid, but I believe that hard work can make up for it. All right, then I'll take you to see the people in the treasure refining secret realm. This talisman contains information about the disciples who are cultivating in the treasure refining secret realm. After you enter, get along well with them. I'll also ask them to cooperate with you and take care of you. Thank you, Elder Chio. Regardless of whether or not Elder Chio was really thinking from his perspective, Su Fong immediately bowed. After a while, the Star Origin Formation Elimination Competition had already ended, and they were preparing for the arena competition. And all of this had nothing to do with Su Fong. He had already become an eternal star child. From this moment on, he had surpassed most of the ordinary disciples in Huangfu, Hao, and become an elite disciple. Xiao Ranjing brought him and several of the higher-ups in Huangfu Taoist Temple to the back of the high-level area. Su Fong also walked past Qi Yinzi and the other geniuses. For some reason, Su Fong felt that Qi Yinzi was looking at him differently. Could it be that he had discovered that he was the person who had transmitted a message to him in the Silent Flame Plains? If this disciple joins our Earth Spirit Taoist Temple, he probably won't be able to. His body is too weak, and he's only at the Dual Tao Cave Immortal Realm. Dual Tao Cave Immortal Realm. In my memory, there has never been such a low-level Eternal Star Child. The Star Origin Formation mainly relies on the cultivation of a young immortal. This kid's young immortal realm surpasses ordinary people. His physical body and cultivation base are weak. If he joins our Sword Formation Taoist Temple, he'll probably become a Sword Formation Grandmaster in the future. That's not necessarily true. Right now, he seems delicious, but who knows if he'll be useless in the future. The surrounding elite disciples didn't hide their gazes. They sized up Su Fong, as if they wanted to see through him. Various discussions continued to spread without the slightest taboo. Su Fong heard them clearly and understood the inner Taoist temples better. He didn't expect there to be so many Taoist temples. These disciples didn't come from the same Taoist temple, but their robes all had the symbols of the 9 Taoist temples. Senior Brother Luan, under the attention of many elite disciples, Xiao Ranjing led Su Fong through the group of elite disciples. Behind them were dozens of old men. Their auras and cultivation bases were all at Xiao Ranjing's level. Everyone clasped their fists at Xiao Ranjing. After he returned the greeting, he led Su Fong to a thin old man. He was about 7 meters tall and wore a plain robe. When this old man was talking to Xiao Ranjing, Su Fong's right arm felt the smell of great pregnant purple qi coming from the old man's body. The old man, surnamed Luan, had the smell of great pregnant purple qi. Su Fong immediately asked for Luo's advice. Luo was always around. He wouldn't fall asleep. He said faintly, "This person is a master refiner. His main task is to refine weapons. As time passes, he will come into contact with more treasures. His body will naturally be contaminated with great pregnant purple qi. He probably wants to control the great pregnant purple qi, but I saw that there was only a little great pregnant purple qi in his body. It's not at your level." Su Fongdao was shocked. "Luo, you're amazing. You can see that old man's body so quickly. I have a special ability. My young immortal is also not ordinary. Also, I've lived for countless years. He's at most someone who has cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years. But he also has areas where I'm lacking. That is refining weapons. This person is a master refiner. You can follow him without worry." Yes. He didn't expect this old man, surnamed Luan, to receive such praise from Luo. "Is that so, Huangfu Shaoying?" Ran was also having a good chat with the old man, surnamed Luan. At this time, when Su Fong came back to his senses, the old man, surnamed Luan, sized up Su Fong for the first time, being able to become the eternal star child at the cave Immortal Realm and Immortal Realm. He indeed has potential. But junior brother Chiu, you've given such a disciple with the ability to surpass realms to me. Your dojo is also willing to give him a better space to develop. Refining weapons is very boring and tedious. I've communicated with this disciple before. The dojo also has arrangements for him, but he insists on entering the treasure secret realm to become a refiner. I can't do anything about it. The dojo has to support any disciple's wishes. Senior brother Luan, from now on, Xiaoying will join your dojo. Chiu Ran cupped his fist towards the old man, surnamed Luan, and introduced him to Su Fong. This person was called Heavenly Master Luan, an elder of the treasure refining secret realm. Of course, he was also one of the master refiners in the entire constellation of 9 heavens. Even in other worlds, he was a master refiner that everyone knew. Many of the treasures in the constellation of 9 heavens came from this person. Heavenly Master Luan took the disciple token from Su Fong in front of Chiu Ran. The two of them condensed true patterns and added them to the disciple token. When the token returned to Su Fong's side, his star robe instantly became more vast and different from before. There were many different clouds on it. It made Su Fong feel as if he had become a young master of a noble family. This star robe made him a big shot, and also the representative of the treasure secret realm's identity as an elite disciple. From then on, Su Fong cultivated in the treasure secret realm. Of course, he was also a disciple of the Huangfu Dojo. After a while, a middle-aged man similar to Su Fong's star robe suddenly walked over. He was also an elite disciple of the treasure secret realm, and also from the Huangfu Dojo. Su Fong immediately fused with the talisman that Chiu Ran had given him. After fusing with it, he learned that this person was called Huangfu Ju and was a disciple of the Huangfu clan. After Huangfu Ju was brought over, he practically bowed to Heavenly Master Luan. Heavenly Master Luan had him bring Su Fong to the treasure secret realm first. After walking out of the high-level area, Chiu Ran suddenly called Huangfu Ju over. Huangfu Xiaoying is one of us. You have to properly support him in the treasure secret realm so that he can quickly adapt. Disciple understands. Elder Chiu, don't worry. Since he's a member of my family, I'll definitely support him, Huangfu Ju replied. He immediately brought Su Fong out of the Eternal Star Peak. At this time, they were no longer in the 9 great dojos, but they were still in the outer dojo. Immortal clouds were churning in the sky. Su Fong suddenly bowed to Huangfu Ju. Senior apprentice brother Ju, I'll have to trouble you in the future. You and I are both disciples of the Huangfu clan. If there's anything, just tell me. I'm a newcomer, so I'll naturally follow senior apprentice brother's orders. Your words are very pleasing to the ear. Since you've said so, and Elder Chiu's orders, I'll naturally take good care of you in the treasure secret realm. I won't let you suffer. Huangfu Ju's sense of superiority suddenly arose. In front of Su Fong, he was like an elder. Chapter 1007. Huangfu Ju was a true descendant of the Huangfu bloodline. He had long since become one of the Eternal Star Sons and had joined the treasure item's secret realm to cultivate. Seeing Su Fong act so courteously, he continued to lead Su Fong deeper into the secret realm. Gradually, they reached a deathly silence. Elder Chiu is right. You and I are both from the Huangfu clan, and we're from the same Dao sect. Since we've come to the treasure item's secret realm, we naturally have to take care of each other. Huangfu Ju slowly looked ahead. The treasure refining secret realm is an incomparably mystical place within the inner Dao sections. It can be said that most of the sect's treasures come from the treasure refining secret realm. There are tens of thousands of inner disciples, and some of them are famous throughout the world. The treasures they refine are very popular. My Huangfu Dao sect has quite a bit of power here. As a newcomer, it'll be difficult for you to survive here without someone to take care of you. Junior apprentice brother will listen to senior apprentice brother in the future, said Su Fong honestly. He didn't have much of an opinion. He had some hope. He had thought that the disciples of the Huangfu Dao sect who cultivated in the treasure-refining secret realm would all be geniuses like Qi Yinzi. But this Huangfu Ju only gave him the feeling that he was an expert. He wasn't as strong as Qi Yinzi. Huangfu Ju lacked that domineering aura. If he was an expert, perhaps he really would be of some help to him. Furthermore, he also knew that alchemy and weapon forging were extremely difficult to master. Only 1 out of 1,000 people could become a grandmaster alchemist. All of these required talent and hard work. Neither of them could be lacking. Huangfu Ju brought Su Fang deeper into the 9 Dao sections. The clouds in the distance parted, and Huangfu Ju continued. Cultivating in the inner Dao sects isn't as easy as cultivating in the outer Dao sections. Disciples of the treasure item secret realm have to refine a treasure within a certain amount of time. Even if it's a substandard one, we still have to refine it. We often go out to find all kinds of materials, and we also go to the grand immortal realms to participate in all kinds of treasure appraisal conventions. Senior Brother Ju is definitely not an ordinary disciple in the treasure realm. Of course, I'm an elite disciple after all. However, I'm still far from being a truly powerful figure. Almost all of the disciples in the treasure refining secret territory are male. There are also some female disciples. Most of the geniuses are male disciples. They have cultivated for tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years. They're so powerful that they can already refine magic treasures for themselves. Senior Brother, did you say that the treasured artifact secret realm has tens of thousands of disciples? Yes, there are a lot of people. Up ahead is the void realm of the inner dojo. After passing through the void realm that looks like a dead ruin, you'll reach the inner dojo. There isn't much scenery there, it's all ruins of the ancient times. The inner dojo is built in the depths of these ruins within countless formations. Oh. Following Huangfu Ju's guidance, there were indeed no mountains or rivers in front of them. It was as if they had left the constellation of 9 Heavens dojo and returned to the void of the natural ruins. Once they entered this void, there was an astonishing power of void shackles. It felt like this was to prevent external disciples from entering the inner world. If it weren't for Huangfu Ju, Su Fang wouldn't have been able to cross this void realm. Fortunately, with Huangfu Ju's reminder, he immediately activated the token at his waist. He didn't expect the token to emit a protective power that prevented him from being shackled. Moreover, there was a guiding force in the depths of the void ahead. It was probably the location of the treasure realm. Just as he expected, in a short while, they entered the depths of the void realm. It seemed that they were far away from the dojo, but a void distortion suddenly swept over and sucked Su Fang and Huangfu Ju into the distorted formation. Swoosh! In an instant, Su Fang felt that his breathing and shackles had returned to normal. The formation in front of him was jumping, as if he had returned to reality from an illusion. Taking a closer look, there was no forest around. There were mountains, but there was no sign of life in the mountains. The bare rocks stood tall in the cold void. This was the void ruins outside the dojo, but Su Fang felt the natural shackles of the void. It seemed that this place was protected by an invisible formation. Huangfu Ju pointed ahead. This is the treasure-refining arcane realm, built in the natural void ruins deep in the dojo. The few desolate mountains, valleys, and peaks in front of us are where tens of thousands of disciples usually refine and cultivate. Let's fly. After the introduction, Huangfu Ju rose into the air. The two of them gradually flew toward a large desolate mountain range in front of them at a height of 10 feet. There were ruins all around. The simplicity of the vast world was presented in front of them. Soon, in front of the mountain range, they saw valleys among the mountains, as well as peaks that stood tall on the mountain range. There was no sign of life at all, making them feel only respect for nature. These valleys are where everyone usually rests and meditates. Those peaks have celestial artifacts, spirit pools inside. That's where they refine their weapons. If you need to refine weapons, learn a lot of knowledge, and observe other disciples refining weapons, you have to go there. Celestial artifact, spirit pools. The large number of peaks that stood tall on the mountain range turned out to be places for refining weapons. After Huang Fuju's introduction, there was already movement in his right arm. He didn't need to sense it to know that the primordial violet chi of the treasure-refining arcane realm was attracting the violet chi Dharma spirit. Furthermore, the violet chi Dharma spirit was constantly buzzing, but its movement was suppressed. If it wasn't, his right arm would be moving right now. The valley on the left is where most of the Huangfu Dojo's disciples rest. I'll take you to walk around first, and then we'll go to the Celestial Artifact Spirit Pool to see those senior apprentice brothers. Huang Fuju brought Su Fong to the left. They were getting closer and closer to a valley. Soon it became real. In front of them was a valley with strange rocks. It didn't have the beautiful scenery of an ordinary valley. It was like a rocky valley formed by an explosion. There were some caves on the cliffs that weren't naturally formed. Each cave was sealed by a formation, and each cave was separated by a certain distance. Looking from here, the valley was full of caves where all kinds of disciples cultivated. It was very spectacular. Looking out of the valley, there were magnificent cultivation peaks. Su Fong came here as if she had come to a wasteland. Looking at the ruined valley, there were cold stones and cliffs everywhere. It really didn't look like a dojo. The only thing that was gratifying was that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth here was several times that of the Huangfu Dojo. It was an excellent place for cultivation. Luo suddenly said, "From here we can see that the constellation of 9 heavens is worthy of being called a big force." Often, the cultivation dojos of real forces have harsh conditions and are close to the most real nature. This way, the disciples can really come into contact with heaven and earth and cultivate the power of heaven and earth. Fortunately, I've stepped into the cave immortal realm. I don't think any of the disciples here are cave immortals. In such an environment, fortunately, I can quickly adapt with the cave immortal realm. After chatting with Luo, he followed Huang Fuju and flew through the valley. There were caves sealed by formations on both sides. No disciples were wandering outside. From time to time, a few disciples would fly down from the surrounding mountains and enter the surrounding caves. No one talked to Huang Fuju. "Look, almost all of the caves in the valley are disciples of our Huangfu Dojo who have successfully become the Eternal Star Sun and stepped into the treasure secret realm. They have been here for at least 10,000 years. Almost all of them have been here for 10,000 to 50,000 years. Once they become strong, they can freely open up caves in the surrounding ruins. Disciples like us still have to continue cultivating here. I'll take you to see them." With a wave of her hand, Huang Fuju brought Su Fong to the cliff on the right. When they arrived at a cave, they first activated their aura. The immortal formation seal at the entrance of the cave was still there, but a primordial spirit figure appeared at the entrance of the formation. Even when it met Huang Fuju, it glanced coldly at Su Fong without any enthusiasm. Then, Huang Fuju met most of the disciples. Some of them were sky immortals, some of them surpassed sky immortals, and a few of them were existences whose cultivation could not be sensed. Su Fong was at least several realms away from the disciples who stood at the peak of this place. Moreover, it was very difficult to break through the realms after entering the cave immortal realm. Therefore, when these disciples saw that Su Fong was a cave immortal, their expressions all became smug. Fortunately, these disciples were recorded in the rune talisman that Xiu Ranzheng had given them. Su Fong could remember all of them with just a glance. At this time, Huang Fuju brought Su Fong out of the mountain and flew to the mountain behind the valley. According to her, every disciple who entered the treasure secret realm had to go to a mountain and enter the heaven artifact spiritual pool to cultivate. There would be several senior brothers in charge of cultivation there. Su Fong was going to the nearest mountain to report. Of course, not all the disciples on this mountain were disciples of Huangfu Dao sect. The disciples of Huangfu Dao sect were scattered in 8 different mountains to cultivate. There was a clear rule that forbade any disciple to cultivate on the same mountain. This was probably to measure the relationship between the 9 Dao sects. As he approached the mountain, The purple Chi Dharma spirit in his right arm trembled and was about to be peeled off from the merged meridians in his arm. Great pregnant purple Chi. Because in the mountain, the heaven artifact spiritual pool contained the world's most wonderful great pregnant purple Chi, and no one knew how much great pregnant purple Chi there was. Stopping breathing, Su Fong looked at the mountain in front of him. It was 1,000 feet high, like an oval-shaped stone pillar, standing abruptly in the mountain range. Su Fong felt that this mountain and the surrounding mountains did not seem to be natural but man-made. After asking Huang Fuju, he found out that it was as he had expected. Aside from the valleys and mountain ranges, all the other peaks in this treasure tool secret realm were created by the true big shots of the sect using great magic. It was truly uncanny craftsmanship. To be able to create such a realistic, tall, and mysterious mountain in the void ruins. Su Fong also possessed the divine might of the earth attribute, but he was unable to accomplish even a 10,000th of it. He estimated that if he wanted to truly see through this mountain, he would need to break through several realms. Extreme Celestial Pool Peak. After going a bit further, he arrived in front of a simple stone gate. Su Fong saw the words Extreme Celestial Pool Peak carved into the gate. It contained a powerful force that made him feel like he would faint just by looking at it. At this time, a disciple appeared at the gate. He seemed to be in charge of guarding the gate. As soon as he saw Huang Fuju and then looked at Su Fong, he said with surprise, "Junior apprentice Brother Ju, the Aeon competition still hasn't concluded, right? How did a disciple suddenly become the eternal star sun? And he came from Huang Fu's Dao, right?" Before replying, Ju told Su Fong that this person was called Huang Fu Liao. He was in charge of guarding the gate for 1,000 years. He could be considered an ordinary disciple here, but he was an old figure who had been here for 60,000 years. 60,000 years. Su Fong secretly sized up this Huang Fu Liao. He looked to be in his 40s, which would be middle-aged among mortals. But he didn't look dispirited at all. Instead, he was hale and hearty. He gave off the feeling that Su Fong didn't have Qi Yinzi's domineering aura. Huang Fuju walked in front of Huang Fu Liao and introduced Senior Apprentice Brother Huang. "This is my Dao," writes Huang Fu Shaoying. "The Aeon competition has changed its format this time. My junior apprentice brother surpassed everyone else and became the eternal star sun first. He obtained Elder Luan's permission to enter my treasure secret realm to cultivate. Please look after him." Chapter 1008. Is that so? Hearing Huang Fuju's grand introduction, Huang Liao started to size up Su Fong. No wonder the competition is still going on, and the ceremony hasn't been held yet. How can someone become the eternal star sun? Looks like you, Huang Fu Shaoying, are a good seedling. Su Fong also bowed to Huang Liao. No, junior brother, you were just a bit lucky. That's all. Even now, I still can't figure out how I became the eternal star sun. Otherwise, how could I, with my 2 Dao cave immortal realm cultivation base, be qualified to step into the inner Dao right and become the eternal star sun? Low-key, I like low-key people. Huang Liao lifted Su Fong up. However, I'm also considered an old man. I've been in the treasure secret realm for more than 60,000 years. Think about the geniuses who became the eternal star suns with me. Some of them have already become powerful existences. I'm the only one who hasn't achieved anything. I can't refine weapons, and I can't cultivate. You have to work hard. Overall, if you don't have talent, you can rely on hard work. But if you can't even work hard, then you're destined to be mediocre like me. Thank you for your teachings, senior brother. I'll definitely remember it. Huang Liao laughed at himself. How can I be qualified to teach others? Compared to you and me, it's just that the time of cultivation is different. I also know that you'll surpass me soon. At this moment, Huang Fuju said, "Senior brother Huang, are senior brothers Qin Kuei and Yuan Yifeng still here? I have to bring junior brother Shaoying to meet them first. It'll be convenient for cultivation." Both senior brothers are here. Senior brother Qin Kuei is about to succeed in refining the Qin Yuan cauldron. During this time, many senior brothers have gathered here. They won't leave. Go. Thank you, senior brother. Su Fang followed Huang Fuju and bowed to Huang Liao before entering the door. After entering the majestic stone door, there was a scorching aura inside. In front of him was a huge hollow cave with many passages. Other than the scorching aura, there was also a shocking aura of magic treasures. There was also the great pregnant purple chi. If he didn't suppress his right arm and control the purple chi Dharma spirit, he would have already started absorbing all the energy here. Su Fang could also hear the sound of burning flames coming from the depths of the cave. This place felt like a furnace. The scorching aura was truly astonishing, making it impossible for Su Fang to calm down. Huang Fuju looked at the stone door behind him and whispered, "Don't underestimate that senior brother Huang Liao. Although his cultivation isn't that great, he is very proficient in refining. Although he hasn't refined any peerless magic treasures, he has made some contributions. Although he can't compare to the senior brothers who have mostly cultivated for 60,000 years, he is still someone who knows everything." After listening, Su Fang nodded honestly and suddenly asked, "Thank you for your reminder, senior martial brother. Oh right, the two senior martial brothers you mentioned, Qing Kuei and Yuan Yifang, are they peerless geniuses in the treasure-refining mystic realm?" Of course, they are peerless geniuses. Both of them have cultivated for around 50,000 years. There are two reasons why we call them senior martial brothers here. First, you know how long they have cultivated, so naturally they are senior martial brothers. Second, the stronger they are, the more powerful they are. Even if they have cultivated for 1,000 years, they will still be called senior martial brothers. In the future, keep your eyes open and don't offend any senior martial brothers. Huang Fuju led Su Fang to a huge red tunnel that was shrouded in a scorching aura. The two senior martial brothers Qing Kuei and Yuan Yifang are both extraordinary existences. Among the tens of thousands of disciples in the treasure-refining mystic realm, they are one of the top existences. They have refined countless weapons and made a lot of contributions. They have been recognized by Elder Luan and the sect, and they have become the people in charge of the mountain dojos. They have a lot of power. Our daily affairs are handled by the two senior martial brothers, so we can't afford to offend them. Unfortunately, they are not from our Huangfu dojo. If they were, it would be much more convenient for you and me here. Then what about the Qingyuan cauldron? The Qingyuan cauldron is a high-grade magical treasure that senior martial brother Qing Kuei has been refining for thousands of years. It is a Dao item with the ability to refine weapons. I heard that when he went out to train, he obtained an incomplete refining manual about refining ancient cauldrons. After 10,000 years of studying and experimenting, he finally had a certain level of confidence and began refining the Qingyuan cauldron. That's incredible. Of course, once senior martial brother Qing Kuei succeeds in refining the Qingyuan cauldron, he will have made a huge contribution. In the future, he might even become a special disciple. Step by step, he will walk the path of a refining grandmaster. Then let's go take a look. Yes, I'll take you to the largest refining space in this dojo. The Celestial Artifact Spirit Pool is at the center. Normally, you can't go there. Only when you need to do, so will you get permission from the two senior martial brothers? As they chatted, the scorching aura in the cave suddenly increased by 10 times. Su Fang's aura began to burn. Huang Fuju didn't find it strange. After all, Su Fang was only at the Dual Dao Cave Immortal Realm. However, he still felt that it wasn't simple. Only Heavenly Immortal Realm disciples wouldn't be affected by the scorching aura. Suddenly, there was a bridge in front of them. It was a floating bridge in the middle of lava. Seeing this, Su Fang thought back to what he had experienced in the Silent Flame Desert. That lava waterfall had been so terrifying. If this floating bridge was gone, cultivators who fell into the lava would definitely be burned to death. Huang Fuju explained that these lava flames were used to refine weapons. They could burn all kinds of ores, gems, and immortal stones. Fortunately, walking on the floating bridge wasn't wobbly. Otherwise, it would be even more terrifying. The floating bridge was 1,000 meters long, and there were chains protecting it. Past the floating bridge was a large door. Activating the medallion, the door swung open. A huge cave appeared in front of Su Fong in an instant. In front of him, there were 3 spirit altars built in the cave that were almost like large stoves. Above them were 3 large cauldrons. The 2 cauldrons on the left and right were 5 zhang tall. As for the cauldron in the center, it was over 30 meters tall. Around the 3 cauldrons, there were hundreds of disciples sitting in the air. They didn't even blink as they stared at the cauldron in the center. Huang Fuju looked at Su Fong and saw that the latter was filled with shock and only had eyes for the 3 cauldrons. He couldn't help but sigh. Our celestial pool peak has dozens of cauldrons. These 3 cauldrons are the most powerful, especially the cauldron in the center. It's a primordial Tao artifact. Every peak in our treasure artifact secret domain has a peerless cauldron like this. Every disciple wants to refine artifacts there, but only the truly powerful disciples and those who have made enough contributions can refine artifacts there. Ancient treasures, they really are ancient treasures. Su Fong's heart was filled with indescribable shock. I didn't expect the cauldrons for the disciples to be ancient treasures. There are also many of these ancient cauldrons in the treasure item secret realm. I finally understand how terrifying a large power can be. He had made the right decision to come to the constellation of 9 heavens back then. He didn't regret it at all. Instead, he rejoiced. From the 3 cauldrons' auras, Su Fong sensed a shocking amount of primordial violet qi. It was unknown just how many treasures have been born from these 3 cauldrons. Huang Fuju said cautiously, "Don't be in such a rush. I've already notified senior apprentice brothers Qin Kuei and Yuan Yifang. They should still have some matters to attend to. Let's just wait. It's a pity I can't see the refining state of the Qing Yuan cauldron." But Su Fong didn't want to see his senior apprentice brothers. He wanted to see the refining scene. If there's a chance in the future, there will be other cauldrons in other cultivation caves. You have to take it one step at a time. Huang Fuju brought Su Fong and floated quietly in front of the door. Su Fong looked behind the 3 cauldrons and saw 2 disciples. They were around 30 years old and wore starry robes. They represented the treasure refining secret realm. The 2 of them were naturally Qin Kuei and Yuan Yifang. One of them, a horse-faced man, was controlling most of the cauldron's aura. It was likely that he was Qin Kuei. Only a refiner could control most of the cauldron's aura. Looking closely at Qin Kuei and Yuan Yifang, the 2 of them had the aura of peerless geniuses like Qi Yanzi. They were very powerful. Looking at the hundreds of disciples around them, he couldn't see through their cultivation. None of them were cave immortals or heavenly immortals. They were all existences that surpassed the heavenly immortal realm. Su Fong could sense that they weren't the strongest or the weakest. They were all powerful experts. They waited for a few days. Yuan Yifang suddenly flew over. As for Qin Kuei, she was still controlling the cauldron. "You're here." Yuan Yifang and Qin Kuei looked very different. Qin Kuei had a slender face, while Yuan Yifang had a square face. He had high cheekbones, sword-like eyebrows, and a big nose. He nodded at Huang Fuju and then looked sharply at Su Fong. "You're Huang Fu Shaoing. Elder One just sent me a message saying that the first disciple to become the eternal star sun will come here and enter our treasure refining secret realm. It's you." Su Fong immediately bowed. Disciple Huang Fu Shaoying greets senior apprentice brother. "I'm willing to do anything to cultivate in the celestial pool peak from now on. I'll learn the art of refining from senior apprentice brothers. And normally, new disciples have to cultivate from the basics. Junior apprentice brother Ju will teach them what to do and the rules of our treasure refining secret realm and celestial pool peak. You're also a disciple of Huang Fu Dao sect. You'll cultivate with junior apprentice brother Ju in the future. He'll help you get used to this place." Yuan Yifang stood with his hands behind his back. "Don't worry, senior apprentice brother. Then we won't delay senior apprentice brother's important matters." After bowing to Yuan Yifang, Huang Fuju brought Su Fong out of the central cave. After leaving, Su Fong felt much more relaxed. This passage also contained a long history of primordial violet qi. To him, this place was a cultivation paradise. Don't think that Yuan Yifang is easy to talk to. He won't be merciful when punishing disciples. Back then, when I committed a crime, I ended up in his hands. Fortunately, it's all over now. You probably won't see Qingkuei and Yuan Yifeng in the future. They passed through the floating bridge and left this hot passage. He then brought Su Feng to another passage. At the end of the passage was a cave, much smaller than the central cave. There were dozens of disciples refining treasures around several cauldrons. These cauldrons were all high-grade treasures. Although they weren't ancient treasures, their quality wasn't bad. They then went to the other caves. Most of them were refining treasures. Some of them were guarded by disciples. They were forbidden areas where all kinds of materials were stored. One had to register before entering. He originally wanted to see the heavenly artifact spirit pool, but he had no choice. It was something that disciples like him couldn't see. In the end, he returned to the valley with Huang Fuju. Su Feng wasn't a spoiled brat. Whichever cave Huang Fuju told him to enter, he would obediently listen. He could be considered to have a cave like the one in the treasure-refining secret realm. It was just that the location was ordinary. This was the difference in status. Chapter 1009. Su Feng came to the cave. First, he set up a barrier around the entrance of the cave. He also had to set up a formation inside the cave. Otherwise, the cold air in the ruins would restrict the spirit chi and prevent the cave from absorbing the chi of heaven and earth. After setting up the formation, the cave was still cold. The rocks were colder than ice. After all, this was the real ruins. Everything had been baptized by time. The area inside the cave was not small. There were traces of excavation everywhere. Su Feng took out some low-grade celestial stones and set them on the surrounding walls. Soon, the light inside filled the cave. Then he took out some celestial stones and gems to create an altar. He condensed a few chairs and round tables around him. After setting it up, it still looked simple, but it was not as cold as before. After resting for a few days, Su Feng was adapting to the desolate chi of heaven and earth here. Huang Fuju came looking for him. Of course, he was not the only one. There were also a few disciples from Huangfu Training Hall. Huang Fuju explained the purpose of his visit. He wanted Su Feng to invite the disciples from Huangfu Training Halls nearby to gather here. To put it bluntly, he wanted to give everyone some benefits. They were all disciples above the heavenly immortal realm. Why did they have to trouble a cave immortal? It seemed that everywhere was bullying. Su Feng could only follow their wishes and visit each and every one of their cave residences. This was like sticking his face to their butts. In the end, he only managed to invite a dozen or so people. Su Feng took out middle-grade immortal essence pills to entertain these people, as well as some good spiritual items. After chasing these people away, Su Feng left the treasured artifact Arcane Realm. He wanted to return to Huangfu Training Hall to bring some items back. Also, the competition had ended. He wanted to see baby Huangfu. Fortunately, as an elite disciple, he could enter and leave the training hall freely. 2 hours later, he returned to Huangfu Training Hall's side peak. He also saw baby Huangfu. This guy had successfully become the Eternal Star Sun and even joined the vast ancient mystery dimension to cultivate. Vast ancient mystery dimension. This was the first time Su Feng heard about it. It turned out that the vast ancient mystery dimension mainly cultivated supernatural powers and the many secret techniques of the constellation of 9 heavens. It was a mystery dimension that truly cultivated strength and Tao techniques. It was unlike the treasured artifact Arcane Realm, which mainly cultivated weapons. Those true geniuses were the existences of the vast ancient mystery dimension. For example, Huangfu Fei was once a disciple of the vast ancient mystery dimension. Huangfu Xiao also cultivated in the vast ancient mystery dimension. That was not a place that ordinary disciples could enter. Baby Huangfu had yet to become one of the top 10 Eternal Star Children's disciples, but he had a good grandfather. It was not difficult for him to enter the vast ancient mystery grounds. If it were any other ordinary Eternal Star Children, they would not be qualified to enter. After chatting for a while, the baby Huangfu became excited. I also just came back from the conferring ceremony. I also heard that you went to the treasured artifact, Mystic Realm. Sigh. If I had known, I would have brought you with me to the vast ancient mystic realm. I'm very interested in artifact forging. Entering the secret realm is also my idea. Elder Chiu has also agreed. Su Fong did not want to enter the vast ancient secret realm. If he went there, how could he fuse the purple chi Dharma spirit with himself? How to upgrade the Dharma treasures? As for strength, he believed that even in the treasure arcane realm, he could still become strong through hard work. Who would have thought that baby Huangfu would suddenly jump to his feet? I only learned later that you actually defeated that insufferably arrogant Nangong Xiao. Wonderful, truly wonderful. Su Fong suddenly thought of that scene. Brother Bao, if you hadn't brought it up, I would have forgotten about it myself. Nangong Xiao and Nangong Jun were too overbearing. I had no choice. Who does Nangong Jun think he is? He only relies on his genius brother to act like a tyrant. In front of me, he has to crawl like a dog. However, that Nangong Xiao really is a genius. He also successfully became one of the top 10 Eternal Star Children's disciples. Is that so? Nangong Xiao really is strong. Nangong Xiao's young immortal was defeated by you. How tyrannical. After the Star Origin formation, news of your defeat spread. Nangong Xiao was infuriated. Although he was defeated by you, his physical body, strength, and cultivation base were all terrifying. I wasn't his match. In the end, he became a peerless genius. But now, everyone is talking about how you defeated him in the Star Origin formation. I was just lucky. That Nangong Xiao was unlucky. He reaped what he sowed. You're usually very arrogant. Just because you're a genius, you consider everyone beneath you. Now, his enemies can step on his head. You're even more famous than the top 10 Eternal Star Children's disciples. Plus, you're the first person in the sect to become an Eternal Star Child's disciple with a cultivation base of a mortal cave. Even my big sister was shocked when she heard the news. If I had known, I would have asked her. I didn't know that I would become an Eternal Star Child through the Star Origin formation. Actually, you care too much about this. Although you've entered the treasured tool secret domain, you're still a disciple of the Huangfu Dojo. This is something that can't be changed. All right, I have a lot of soul-strengthening pills that big sister gave me. I'll give you 100 of them, all of which are mid-grade pills. In the future, I'll go to the treasured tool secret domain to look for you from time to time. You have to work hard. In the future, I'll look for you when I have any problems with magic treasures. At this time, baby Huangfu finished talking with a smile and suddenly took out a storage ring. He carefully handed it to Su Fong. It turned out that there were 100 mid-grade soul, strengthening, and condensing pills inside, which were very precious. Only heavenly immortal disciples could have such treasures. Su Fong refused, but he couldn't win against baby Huangfu. In the end, he took it. He went back to the palace to pack up and asked Red Kite to go to the precious tool's secret realm. When he was about to leave, he suddenly received a message from Huangfu Fei. She wanted him to go to the dojo. He took Red Kite to the sky above the cliff and asked it to wait at the side. He went into the formation alone. Stepping through the formation, he saw a strange formation, mysterious realm in front of him. Huangfu Fei stood among the many nebulas and turned around to look at Su Fong with a cold and arrogant gaze. This time, you gave me a big surprise. You became an Eternal Star Child in a short time, and the first Eternal Star Child. Huangfu Fei said directly, "It can be seen that your potential is really amazing. You're also an excellent disciple. It's just that you went to the precious tool secret realm. I'm only in the cave immortal realm. It's hard for me to adapt to other secret realms. Moreover, I've always been interested in refining weapons." He bowed and said honestly, "So be it. Your realm is indeed a weakness. If you're a sky immortal, I'll let you enter the vast ancient secret realm. Now, I'll let you leave the precious tool secret realm. But since you're willing to focus on refining weapons, I also hope that my Huangfu Dojo will have a genius disciple. It just so happens that Bao Bao went to the vast ancient mystery dimension, which is where I used to cultivate. For him, he can be forged. I also told the elders they're not to be biased. It just so happens that Bao Bao mainly cultivates Dao arts, while you study weapon forging. You can complement each other in the future. I want Bao Bao to become an elder in the future, and still control the Huangfu Dao sect, so he needs someone to help him. Since you are so talented, you should take up this responsibility. From now on, when you cultivate in the weapon secret dimension, if you encounter any difficulties, just say the word, and no one will make things difficult for you. Thank you, Mississippi. Here are 1,000 mid-grade soul strengthening and condensing pills. When you run out, just come and find me. I'll also pay special attention to your actions in the precious tool secret realm. If you perform well, I can even find you an excellent female disciple to be your Tao companion. Forget about Tao companions. I like to cultivate alone. You don't like Tao companions. The Ruo Shui, spiritual land, and the Bodhi spiritual world have always produced beauties. So many male disciples want to have the female disciples there as their Tao companions. You don't want them? I'm focused on cultivation. I'm a cave immortal. I don't want to waste my energy on those things. Then why do you want to bring a female servant to the precious tool secret realm? She's been with me for a long time. If I don't take her with me, I don't think I'll have a good life in the future. I'm just bringing her with me to do some simple chores in the dojo. This has nothing to do with Tao companions. Also, I'm just a cave immortal. How can I be qualified to ask the female disciples of the Ruo Shui spiritual land and the Bodhi spiritual world to be my Tao companions? It's easy for you to get a female servant. I can let my female servant serve you. Thank you for your kindness. Mississippi young master gave me a lot of pills just now. He's his. I'm just showing my sincerity. Take it. Go. In the end, Huangfu Fei wasn't able to persuade Su Fang. She forcefully took out a storage ring and sent it out of the mysterious realm along with Su Fang. As soon as they left the formation, they felt a chill in their hearts. Huangfu Fei was too strong. She was even stronger than Qi Yanzi. If they were targeted and controlled by such a woman, their future days wouldn't be good. If they went along with her, their lives would be good. If they went against her will, it would be hard for them to even die. Sir, you bringing me to the inner dojos. Is that okay? Flying out of the 9 great Tao temples, it arrived in the desolate air. Just as it was about to enter the treasure mystic realm, the frail red kite suddenly felt fear. Su Fang shook her head. I asked those senior apprentice brothers before. You can also bring people to the inner dojos. As long as you abide by the rules and don't go to those cultivation dojos, there won't be any problems. If I don't bring you with me, your days won't be good. Of course, if you don't want to, I won't force you. Of course I'm willing. Thank you for being so considerate. Red Kite lowered her head and didn't say anything. Following closely behind Su Fang, she stepped into the twisting void. In an instant, they arrived in the air above the treasure item secret realm. She quickly entered the mountain valley and returned to her immortal cave. Su Fang was in a side cave. Red Kite had been cultivating here ever since. With so many formations, although they seemed to be in the same immortal cave, they were actually separated by an astonishing distance. The constellation of 9 Heavens' treasure item secret realm is extraordinary. There's spiritual chi everywhere, and it's filled with the aura of magic treasures. It just so happens that I can also use this aura to cultivate a Tao item. Red Kite was alone in the formation. After it finished packing its belongings, a strange dark red color suddenly surged out of its ordinary eyes. Next, if there's a chance, I'll leave this place with Huangfu Shaoying. It's time to complete the mission the Palace Master gave me. At this time, in the depths of the immortal cave, Su Fang had already begun to cultivate while looking through some ancient texts regarding the treasure item secret realm. He was about to start learning the art of refining. What surprised him was that even ordinary places like the treasure item secret realm also contained traces of great pregnant purple chi in the natural aura. It just so happened that he activated the constellation of 9 Heavens and began to absorb the great pregnant purple chi. At the same time, he cultivated the power of the world. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth was several times more abundant. Chi. Half a year later, while cultivating quietly and crazily absorbing all kinds of energy to cultivate the world fragments, heavenly grottos, and fuse with the purple chi spirit, a shocking amount of tribulation, chi suddenly erupted from his body. He broke through. Su Fong was very calm. This was something he had expected. With his cave immortal and dual Tao realm, there would be a shocking difference when he came to the inner immortal cave. Especially at the beginning of his cultivation, it would bring him shocking changes. This was also the reason for the explosion of tribulation chi. Cave immortal and dual Tao realm. Keep getting stronger and breaking through. Only then will I be qualified to enter the celestial extreme pool peak and absorb large amounts of great pregnant purple chi. During the process of breaking through, Su Fong felt the transformation brought about by the breakthrough. P.S. Updated at 8 a.m. and 17 p.m. If you have friends in Nanjing, you can contact me. Let's meet up. I'm QQ6949900351. I'll only be in Nanjing for 3 days. Author's words. Tomorrow I'll be going to Nanjing to organize the annual meeting. From the 12th to the 15th, I'll be updating twice a day. This can't be helped. Everyone, please forgive me. If I don't update these days, I'll make up for it in the future. The weather's been very cold recently, so please keep warm. Chapter 10:10. After a series of breakthroughs, Su Fong looked at his body. His flesh membrane, dantian, golden origin core, and divine aperture all had 3 Tao marks. Cave immortal, 3 Tao realm. After activating the Great Circle ability, his vision, hearing, and perception were all different. He could sense the cultivation movements in the cave abodes nearby, as well as the formations in the cave abodes of the disciples. It was too shocking. Without the yang immortal leaving his body, he could sense it so well. This was an unfathomable, peerless ability. At this moment, the heaven grotto felt like it was about to burst out and suck in his flesh, blood, and meridians. It turned out that after breaking through the 3 Tao realm, the heaven grotto would undergo some changes. It became deeper, more complex, and more mysterious. The heaven grotto looked like a mysterious black hole among the stars. His entire body had transformed, and his fleshly body had become much tougher. Now that his left arm had fused with the dragon-subduing wood, Su Fong could use wood-type transformations at will. Furthermore, the black lotus blood threads within his body had also become as thick as silk, and most of them were now capable of circulating true energy. As for the blood transformation true body, it had probably undergone some shocking changes. Once it was used, there was no pain, and it was incomparably tough, like a magic treasure. Because of the breakthrough, his fusion with various magic treasures had reached a new height. He wasn't too worried about magic treasures. After all, after coming to the treasure secret realm, he could find many ways to fuse magic treasures in the future. What he cared about the most was cultivation techniques. The 9 heavenly stars minor art wasn't as powerful as the ethereal enlightenment. Su Fong treated it as an ordinary cultivation technique. He didn't have any cultivation techniques for the Tao of Emperor for now. He could only condense the power of Emperor and fuse it with the flesh fetus divine armor in his body. The blood hell wolf smoke was still powerful. Su Fong still had to cultivate it constantly. Then there was the ethereal enlightenment. This cultivation technique was truly a peerless cultivation technique. The stronger one's cultivation was, the more profound it felt. But still, he couldn't find any secrets. The illusory fire cloud was a cultivation technique that Su Fong had been diligently cultivating recently. Last time, when he obtained the fire vein essence lotus in the desolate swamp astral world, it had caused his yang vein to form pure yang true fire. It also allowed his body to have many shocking flames. Therefore, cultivating the illusory fire cloud made it easier for him to condense fire veins. The 2 most important cultivation techniques were the 9 yang, 9 transformations, and the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. Even the ethereal quintessence and illusory fiery cloud couldn't compare to them at all. In addition to these techniques, which were changing as he broke through to the grotto immortal realm, there was another divine ability that Su Fong found difficult to cultivate. It was the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. That was the peerless technique of the Huangfu Devil Emperor. Unfortunately, he still couldn't use the Void Dust Cauldron. This was not the Taoist Hall of Huangfu City. There were baby Huangfu and Huangfu Fei here. If he used such a magic weapon, He would be finished if someone secretly discovered it. Therefore, the yellow spring blood, could only cultivate in a part of his body. After cultivating for a while, Red Kite informed Su Fong that Huang Fu Ju had arrived. So it turned out that he was looking for him to officially start cultivating the Tao of artifact refining. After instructing Red Kite to look after the Immortal's Cave, he flew out of the valley with Huang Fu Ju and arrived at the Celestial Lake Peak in no time. This junior apprentice brother looks very spirited. Huang Liao, who was guarding the entrance, was very happy to see Su Fong. Su Fong had a very good impression of Huang Liao. After entering the Celestial Pool Peak, they didn't go to the main passage of the floating bridge. Instead, they went to a passage on the left. Su Fong was able to sense the countless formations inside the Celestial Pool Peak. It was too mystical. The inside of the peak was an entire world. Furthermore, there were several hundred disciples releasing their auras inside. At the end of the cave, there was a formation cave guarded by people. The inside was very large. There were a large amount of ordinary ores, gems, and other unknown materials. There were too many of them, piled up like a mountain. Fortunately, there was a formation here. Otherwise, the mountain's capacity would have exceeded it. Xiaoying, as a new disciple, you have to start up step by step. In these 1,000 years, you have to recognize all kinds of ores, all kinds of materials, all kinds of treasure cauldrons, and all kinds of different flame attribute true flames. You have to familiarize yourself with the spiritual lands, spiritual items, and so on. Huang Fuju pointed to a pile of ores of different sizes and colors. These are ores that the sect's disciples have collected over countless years. They're also specimens. You have to familiarize yourself with everything here. Don't be lazy. Every 100 years, there will be people coming to test you. At that time, no one will be able to help you. It might seem like there's no one supervising you, but cultivation depends on you. Su Fong was also shocked to see so many materials. He really did need some time to memorize them. He took out a medicinal pill. Yes, senior apprentice brother. Many thanks. This is a spirit-strengthening pill I accidentally obtained. How do you have a middle-grade spirit-strengthening pill? I only get a few every once in a while. This is a reward from the elders when I became the Eternal Star Sun. It's not much. Okay, you can start from the basics. Now you're a basic disciple. There are many basic manuals in here. You don't have to stay here for long. You can come here every once in a while. As for the future tests, they'll just be some random tests. If you really want to memorize everything here, I can't do it. Huang Fuju took a middle-grade spirit-strengthening pill and left with a smile. In order to make things easier, Su Fong also came out of the cave. He took out some middle-grade immortal essence pills and gave them to the guard disciples on duty. Although they were guard disciples, their cultivation was also shocking. Although they couldn't compare to Huang Liao, they were enough to compare to a cave immortal. They were at least heavenly immortal disciples. At this time, he returned to the cave. Looking at the huge formation and all kinds of materials, he didn't know where to start. Fortunately, he cultivated the heavenly devil disintegration seal and had countless young, immortal divine abilities. He wasn't afraid of so many materials. I have to memorize most of the things as soon as possible, and then make a trip to Huang Zhe astral realm as soon as possible. With my current cave immortal 3-Dao realm cultivation, I won't be in much danger if I encounter a heavenly immortal expert. Moreover, the feather fan is almost fused, and my speed has reached the level of a heavenly immortal. Without delay, he activated the heavenly devil disintegration seal and separated many young immortals. They floated from the outside. He couldn't be anxious now. He controlled the young immortals to see every material clearly. Soon outside the cave, 2 extraordinary disciples suddenly came. These 2 disciples' cultivation levels were very shocking. They suddenly asked the guard disciple in a low voice. The guard disciple was shocked and felt that something was wrong. Now that Su Fong came, he said, Huang Fu Xiaoying is inside. She's undergoing basic cultivation. Senior brothers, what are you doing? It's none of your business. If you hear anything, don't say anything. Just pretend that you didn't see anything. If someone comes to find you in the future, you have to say so. Yes. The guard disciple could only answer. He was a guard disciple. It was because his aptitude was ordinary and his progress was slow that he had fallen to this state. How could he dare to offend such a powerful disciple? However, when he saw one of them enter, he suddenly secretly transmitted his essence spirit. Inside, two disciples are looking for me. In particular, a disciple called Mu Shua came in. He didn't expect the guard disciple to suddenly transmit his voice. When Su Fang heard it, he felt that something was wrong. Fortunately, he had given the other party some benefits before. He immediately put away the young immortals. When he turned around, he saw a disciple walk in. Looking at the star robe, he was an expert from the heavenly Tao sect of the star origin realm. His cultivation level was very powerful, even more powerful than Huang Fuju. Star origin realm. When he saw this person come in anger, he knew that he was a kind person. It was not a good thing. Star origin realm. That's right. I remember that Nangong Xiao and Nangong Jun are both disciples of the star origin realm. Could it be that this Mu Shua, at this moment, he seemed to have understood? Mu Shua suddenly stopped not far from the entrance and said arrogantly, Huangfu Dao, sect disciple. Huangfu, Xiaoying. I'm looking for you. Come forward. Senior apprentice brother, why are you looking for me? Su Fang could only walk 3 meters away from him. What's going on? Mu Shua blinked a few times, then suddenly pointed to the side. A boom rang out as one of the oars shattered. He then shouted coldly, Oomph! Not only are you not focused when cultivating here, you even dare to break origin stones. Do you know your mistake? This was a blatant attempt to shift the blame onto someone else. Su Fang was furious, but he suppressed his anger. He cupped his fists and said, Senior apprentice brother, although I'm a new disciple, I've never offended you in the slightest. I even have many immortal pills here that I can give to you. He even took out a storage ring. How dare you bribe me after doing something wrong? Mu Shua was furious. Killing intent appeared on his emotionless face. According to the rules, if a disciple doesn't focus on cultivating, breaks origin stones, and contradicts a senior apprentice brother, then senior apprentice brother has the right to punish any disciple. Today, I'll teach you, the disciple who doesn't know what's good for him, a lesson. Senior apprentice brother, you're deliberately bullying me. Is there no way to resolve this matter? I'm just enforcing the law. I won't show favoritism. Senior apprentice brother Tian from the star origin world. I respect you and call you senior apprentice brother, but you want to harm me? How vicious. All I did was offend Nangong Xiao. His cultivation base is lower than yours, and his status is lower than yours. How can he order an expert like you to do things for him? Oh, it seems you're not an idiot. Mu Shua was a bit shocked, but his killing intent didn't disappear. It really is because of Nangong Xiao. It's good that you know that. Nangong Xiao can't order me around. But the person behind him is an existence I'm afraid of. Since he wants you to die, I have to find a way to kill you. Consider yourself unlucky. You even ended up in my treasured item's secret realm. You really want to kill me? Of course. Do you think I'd waste my breath on you? Then think carefully. I'm one of Huang Fu Fei's trusted aides. You have to think carefully. If you touch me, you should know the consequences. Huang Fu Fei. He didn't expect this name. Mu Shua, who was about to attack, suddenly stopped. Su Fang took out a lot of spirit strengthening and congealing pills. I'm just a cave immortal disciple. It's impossible for me to have so many high-grade spirit strengthening and congealing pills. If you attack me again, I'll tell Huang Fu Fei that she's from the U sect. Spirit strengthening and congealing pills. Which Star Palace disciple didn't know about them? They came from Huang Fu Dojo. Moreover, a cave immortal disciple couldn't have so many high-grade pills. Bang! Bang! However, unexpectedly, Mu Shua suddenly flashed and returned to his original spot. As for Su Fang, he was sent flying. The huge force made him fly a few feet before he landed on the ground, spitting out blood. I'll give you a good time first. This matter isn't over yet. Mu Shua turned and left. That murderous gaze made the air tremble for a long time. Mu Shua, Nangong Xiao and Nangong Xiao have completely different statuses. Why? He immediately swallowed an immortal pill. After Mu Shuo left for a while, Su Fong recovered a little and walked out of the cave. The guard disciple saw that he was injured and didn't dare to ask more. It seemed like he didn't want to get involved in this matter. Senior, is Mu Shuo very powerful in the treasure secret territory? After giving the disciple a lot of immortal pills, Su Fong started to size up Mu Shuo's background. Author's words, today, until the 15th, I will be updating twice a day. Chapter 10:11. The guard disciple naturally accepted the elixir. With his talent, he would never become a blacksmith master. He could only become a disciple who knew how to refine weapons. He asked Su Fong to come to the side. There are many mediocre people like me in our celestial pole peak. When we first arrived, we were all eternal star sons. Unfortunately, we had the same starting line, but we lost in cultivation and talent. Mu Shuo came to look for you just now. With my position, I naturally couldn't stop him. Don't blame me. How can I blame senior brother? If he didn't tell me to be prepared, my meridians would have been broken by him. I might even have died in his hands. This person is very powerful. He deliberately broke the origin stone and wronged me. Besides, I talked back to senior brother. So I really want to know his background, especially in such a big place. You're not the only one who can't stand him. I can't stand him either. Ever since he became a genius, he's always been superior to me. When he speaks, he's always looking up to the sky. This Mu Shuo is a disciple of the celestial origin world. After becoming an eternal star son, he came to the precious tool secret territory. Through cultivation, he became a core disciple here, but he's only an upper middle level disciple. He doesn't have any influence in the sect, but a peerless genius from the celestial origin world. I've only met this Li Tianqi a few times. He's been a special disciple in the inner Taoist temple for a long time. There are many legends about him, and he's been a mysterious dragon for many years. Because of this, many disciples have tried to curry favor with him. Mu Shuo is one of Li Tianqi's people. Because of this relationship, Mu Shuo doesn't act presumptuously in our precious tool's secret realm. Even senior brothers Qin Kuei and Yuan Yifeng have to be wary of Li Tianqi and turn a blind eye to Mu Shuo's actions. The guard disciple kept talking about Mu Shuo's background to Su Fong. He was also quite dissatisfied with Mu Shuo. Panting, he said carefully, when he came to find you, I found it strange. You're just an eternal star son. Why would he find trouble with you? After this competition, some stars also came to our precious tool's secret domain, but you offended him. You'll have a hard time in the future. With Mu Shuo's status, he has at least 10,000 ways to deal with you. But I found it strange that he let you go. When he could have, he heard the gist of it. In other words, behind Angongxiu was Li Tianqi. Mu Shuo was also Li Tianqi's man, which was why he stood up for Nangongxiu. It seemed like this constellation of 9 heavens was very similar to the lower realms. There were exceptional genius disciples within each sect, and they also possessed astonishing authority. For example, figures like Prince Shui, Sheng Changsheng, and Huang Lingyao. Su Fong shook his head in front of the disciple in a daze. I'm not sure either. He suddenly said that he would let me off, but he would still find trouble with me in the future. I reckon that I offended a genius from the star origin realm during the 10,000-year competition. Then you're in big trouble. Li Tianqi is famous for being protective of his own people. Years ago, when Mu Shuo had just become a disciple, one of his senior apprentice brothers tried to suppress him. In the end, Li Tianqi went out and personally came to the precious tool's secret realm and cut off that senior apprentice brother's path. At this moment, the guardian disciple looked at Su Fong with eyes full of sympathy. It was as if he could guess what would happen to Su Fong. Su Fong didn't mind. As for Li Tianqi, he naturally couldn't offend him. But if Mu Shuo really wanted to deal with him, would he just wait for his death? Furthermore, he already had some ideas. He suddenly asked the disciple he had accepted, senior apprentice brother, can I not wait for 100 years and then take the initiative to find senior apprentice brother to test me? 100 years is too long. Sometimes I want to go out for a walk. Of course you can. We don't have a fixed rule here. But did I hear wrong? Most disciples can't remember much even after 100 years. They even feel that time isn't enough. Why do you feel that time is too long? I'm just determined to cultivate diligently. Senior apprentice brother, I'll have to trouble you in the future. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. I don't like that kind of person either. After chatting with the guardian disciple, Su Fong learned that this person was called Lu Feng. Lu Feng had been in the precious tool's secret realm for 30,000 years. According to his self-evaluation, 30,000 years ago, he was also a high-spirited eternal star child like Su Fong. Unfortunately, after coming here and constantly cultivating, he gradually realized that he didn't have the talent for refining. In the end, he was reduced to an ordinary disciple, eating and waiting for death. Fortunately, the precious tool's secret realm never drove disciples away. It was good to be able to stay here for the rest of his life. At the very least, he had learned a lot of refining knowledge in the past 30,000 years. His knowledge was amazing. In the future, he could rely on this advantage to surpass many disciples. After chatting with Lu Feng for a long time, Lu Feng helped him to register. What an amazing, great pregnant purple chi. I accidentally met Mu Shua this time. Otherwise, I would have started to absorb the great pregnant purple chi. I still have important things to do next. After leaving the inner cave and walking out the stone door, he met Huang Liao again. Huang Liao sat at the side happily. He didn't feel like a cultivator at all. He was very carefree. Cultivators like him were similar to Lu Feng. When they understood their own abilities and talents, they would always give up some things. They seemed to be living a muddle-headed life, but in fact, it was because they understood themselves that they made some changes in their lives. Soon, they left the precious tool's secret realm and returned to Huangfu Dojo. Huangfu Fei Dojo. In the immortal cloud, Su Fong stepped into the familiar, exquisite, mysterious realm. As soon as Huangfu Fei saw him, she said in a familiar cold tone, "You mean Li Tianqi?" Su Fong cupped his fists. "I accidentally defeated the genius of the Star Origin world, Nangong Xiao, in the Star Origin array. I guess this person is related to Li Tianqi." Then, the high-level disciples of the precious tool secret realm attacked me. If I didn't report Miss in time, I'm afraid I would have been in another place today. Although I'm a cultivator of a higher level, I can't deal with a powerful disciple like Mu Shua. Huangfu Fei was calm and gentle like a willow leaf. "Then why are you looking for me? Do you want me to go and find Li Tianqi?" "That's not what I mean." "Then what do you mean? I just want to know." At this moment, although Su Fong was a humble disciple, his eyes suddenly lit up. "If I make a scene and really offend Li Tianqi, for example, hurt his confidant, will Li Tianqi personally attack me?" "I understand." As soon as he finished speaking, Huangfu Fei turned sideways, revealing her sharp nose and chin. "If you really have the ability to compete with a disciple like Mu Shua and protect yourself and survive in the precious tool's secret realm, that's your ability. If you offend Li Tianqi and he comes personally, I'll let you know. Don't worry, if he dares to openly attack you, I'll make him lose face and ensure your safety. Apart from Mu Shua, no one else knows about my relationship with Mississippi. I can only deal with things that I can without disturbing Mississippi. I'm also looking forward to it. If you can rely on yourself to survive in the precious tool's secret realm and become a genius disciple, then I really didn't misjudge you. Bao Bao is a good example of you. He used to live under the wings of my mother and grandfather and became a hedonistic young master. But now he's about to show his talent step by step." Su Fong bowed. "I understand. I'll take my leave now." Huangfu nodded and suddenly said coldly, "Right, you have to protect the ancient devil gold core in your body. Maybe in the future, I'll use it to find the ancient devil ruins." Ancient devil gold core. At this moment, Su Fong left the immortal fog and arrived at Huangfu's side peak. He immediately flew up into the sky. If Huangfu Fei knew that he had already merged with the ancient devil gold core, absorbed it, and obtained the secret of the Yellow Springs Blood Sea, would she kill him? He also had to prepare a set of excuses to deal with the future. Regarding the whereabouts of the ancient devil gold core, he couldn't let her know that he had already obtained the secret of the ancient devil gold core. Inside the precious tool secret realm. "Someone's here." Just as he flew into the valley, he suddenly felt two waves of true chi in the cave. One was red kites, and the other was very strong. Huang Fuju. Su Fong used his full circle abilities to discover the other party's identity. He thought that Mu Shuo had openly come here to cause trouble. When he entered the cave, he saw Red Kite standing there trembling. There were 5 finger marks on her face, and her right cheek was almost red and swollen. With just a glance, Su Fong could tell what was going on. Without looking at Huang Fuju's expression, he bowed politely. May I know why senior brother is here, waiting for me to return? From today onwards, you can cultivate on your own. I have matters to attend to, so I won't be able to guide you on the path of artifact refinement. Huang Fuju suddenly said these words and walked down from the throne on the altar. This scene made him completely treat Su Fong as a stranger. When he passed by Su Fong, who was still bowing, he said coldly, "In the future, don't say that you know me in the treasure mystic realm." With a few steps, he disappeared into the cave's barrier. After he left, Su Fong was concerned about Red Kite. When he saw the 5 finger marks on Red Kite's face, he felt as if he had been slapped in his heart. What happened? Su Fong hurriedly asked. He suddenly barged in and asked where you were. I said that I didn't know, and Red Kite was still in a state of panic, and he could see that there were traces of blood at the base of her teeth. Su Fong was silent. This was clearly a slap to him. Moreover, he was the kind of person who would rather bear the consequences than to cause trouble to others. Red Kite said with grievance. He seemed to say that Master caused trouble and offended a certain senior brother. As for the rest, I don't know. Offended a certain senior brother? Isn't it Mu Shuo? Feeling that he had lost his center of gravity, Su Fong staggered back and almost fainted. He grabbed the wall and rock, and his 5 fingers made creaking sounds. When Red Kite saw this, she felt as if she had done something wrong. She hurriedly said, "This little grievance is nothing. Young master, you are not that kind of person's opponent, and you are a cave immortal. How can you compete with them? Offending such people is not good for you, young master. This has nothing to do with you. Moreover, slapping your face is the same as slapping me. Touching your head is trampling on my self-esteem. Also, this person is really a fence-sitter. Previously, I thought too highly of him and thought that he was a character. But now, it seems that he is just a spineless person in the treasure mystic realm." Starting today, Su Fong took back his hand and took out some medicinal pills, as well as an yin-yang immortal sky pill. He then walked back to his throne. I want all those people who look down on me, all my enemies, to tremble, fear, and avoid me one day. It's also time for me to gain a foothold in the constellation of 9 heavens. Either I become a dazzling shooting star, or, young master, are you all right? I just suffered a little grievance. It's nothing, said Red Kite. It's fine. Go rest. Take this time to get used to it. Try to cultivate the first level of the minor phase art as soon as possible. Then I will pass on all the refining arts I have comprehended to you. Yes. Red Kite silently retreated to the side of the formation. It really is a case of kind people being bullied and kind horses being ridden. You all treat me as a joke, treating me like an ant. But you don't know that today, as long as I absorb the primordial violet chi, my realm will rapidly rise. Sitting down, Su Fong began to meditate. He also began to absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. His eyes once more regained the Overlord's aura from his minor world. Chapter 10:12. Su Fong thought that only he and the guard disciple Lu Feng knew that Mu Shuo was here to make things difficult for him. However, he did not expect that Huang Fuju and the other disciples had already received the news. They probably knew that Mu Shuo was not simple. He came from a star origin realm and was related to the special disciple Li Tianqi. Who would dare to offend him? Even Qin Kuei and Yuan Yifeng had to give Li Tianqi face. No wonder Huang Fuju came to the cave early. Big Thunder first hit Red Kite and then cut ties with him. After cultivating in the cave for a few days, Su Fong told Red Kite not to leave the cave. When he left the cave, he met a few disciples from Huangfu Training Hall. They treated him as a stranger and did not even look at him. After all, they had already accepted his immortal pills. Celestial Pool Peak. Su Fong chatted with Huang Liao for a while, before continuing to the edge of the cave. After giving some benefits to the guard disciple Lu Feng, he entered. This time, he had to make the best use of his time and focus on completing his basic cultivation. He had to master all the things he needed to master in 100 years as soon as possible. Only then would he not be restrained and increase his strength. As for weapon refinement, he did not want to be a weapon refiner now. He came here to absorb the great pregnant purple gas. The guard disciple Lu Feng was still trustworthy. After taking his pills, he would more or less pay attention to the movements outside. Even when someone like Mu Shua came looking for trouble, he had also secretly informed him. After using the heavenly devil disintegration seal, he actually separated 100 young immortals and surrounded the entire cave. This was equivalent to 100 disciples cultivating at the same time. Su Fang's main body entered the depths again and found tens of thousands of secret manuals. Each of them recorded all kinds of weapon refinement materials, immortal fires, true fires, and even some information about deviant fire seeds. His main body separated dozens of young immortals and began to absorb the secret manual's knowledge. Outside, there were 100 young immortals recording all kinds of materials. His main body sat cross-legged in a corner and slightly used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. He still had to sense the movements around him. After confirming that everything was normal, he began to sense the great pregnant purple gas inside the celestial pool peak. Indeed, there was a shocking amount of great pregnant purple gas in the outer cave. It was hidden in the spirit chi, in the vicinity of various materials, or in the rocks. After countless years, the great pregnant purple gas had already fused into countless corners of the celestial pool peak. Although there wasn't as much great pregnant violet chi as there was in the inner cavern, it was still the most abundant great pregnant violet chi Su Fang had ever encountered. After releasing the great pregnant purple gas, he used 9 heavenly star minor art to absorb the spirit chi into his right arm and body. But in reality, he was activating his purple chi dharma spirit to absorb the mysterious great pregnant purple chi within the spirit chi. Not long after, Law suddenly said, "The primordial violet chi is a part of the violet chi. Violet chi represents luck, heavenly luck, and the fate of the Grand Tao. No one in this world can control it. If you can control it and cultivate it, your karmic luck will be unrivaled. You'll be protected by the heavenly Taos." Is it that magical? It's even more magical than that. No one knows what level you will reach after absorbing the great pregnant purple gas. It's not a magic treasure. It's a purple gas spirit, a spirit treasure born from heaven and earth. Compared to that, I want to see how you will rise up in this treasure secret realm. You're being stepped on by others all the time, living like walking on thin ice. I look forward to the day you rise up. I will work hard. Luo's sudden mention of his topic touched Su Fang's sore spot. For now, he was just an ordinary disciple that was being stepped on by others. Huang Fu Fei, Huang Fu Yinhai, Huang Fu Duan, Mu Shua, Huang Fu Ju Li Tianqi. He was really excited. He quickly absorbed the rare, primordial violet chi in the cave. At the same time, the magic power in his divine aperture was surging. Magic power was the source of the young immortals' magic power. At this moment, he had more than 100 young immortals seize the time to memorize all the secret manuals and materials in the cave. Ordinary people would need 100 years to memorize some of the things here. But Luo had to memorize all the materials here in a short time. BZZ, time continued to pass. In his right arm, the purple gas dharma spirit that had fused with his meridians was still vibrating at the beginning. But now, it was roaring as if it was going to struggle out of his meridians. This was because the purple gas dharma spirit had devoured a large amount of great pregnant purple gas and was becoming more mysterious. It was also fusing with more flesh and meridians in his right arm. In addition, it was also absorbing the power of the world around him, pouring it into the heavenly abode and world fragments. His strength was growing stronger step by step. The treasure secret realm, Heavenly Pool Peak, was his cultivation paradise. After the constellation of 9 heavens becomes stronger, I can go to the immortal AO Great World to find a third part of the purple gas Dharma spirit. When the three Dharma spirits fuse together, I will be able to stand firm in the Great World. Luo had this thought in his mind. It gave him unlimited motivation to cultivate step by step and become stronger. After the purple gas Dharma spirit absorbed the great pregnant purple gas, it revealed a mysterious power that allowed Su Fong to absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth faster. He did not expect the purple gas Dharma spirit to be so extraordinary. This allowed Su Fong's cultivation speed to increase continuously, reaching a height that he had never reached before. Oh no, I'm about to break through. Luo suddenly opened his eyes from cultivation. He was pleasantly surprised as he suppressed the true qi in his body. Fortunately, there are 14 slaves in the void dust cauldron. I am using the snake spirit immortal swallowing cauldron to continuously refine yin-yang immortal sky pills for Junior Commander to consume. Otherwise, I would not have enough immortal essence pills. The void dust cauldron is indeed a good treasure. After absorbing the Yang Immortal into his divine aperture's dermic power world, Su Fong left the cave. Lu Feng sat lazily at the side, cultivating the extreme Dao Nebula art. This cultivation technique was truly extraordinary. Unfortunately, with Su Fong's grotto immortal cultivation, he was still unable to cultivate this high-grade divine ability. This was not a low-grade or mid-grade divine ability. Even a heavenly immortal would not be able to cultivate the extreme Dao Nebula art after crossing the 7-star killing sword array, flying star killing sword, and celestial essence void fist. Lu Feng told Su Fong to go back without worry. He would record the time and the general process of Su Fong's cultivation. There were benefits to bribing high-level disciples. After returning to the cave abode in the valley, Su Fong began to cast an array formation, sealing the surroundings tightly. Then he swallowed mid-grade immortal essence pills, biochemical pills, and a spirit-strengthening essence condensing pill. Next was the impact. Again and again, the impact was like 10,000 horses galloping. In order to prevent anyone from noticing his breakthrough aura, Su Fong even deliberately cast a seal in the cave where the red kite was. Chi! A wave of tribulation aura came as he wished. After the explosion, Su Fong's body trembled shockingly. The earth tribulation fire also enveloped and burned, almost burning the layers of array formation seals into pieces. The earth tribulation fire burned his flesh, blood, meridians, bones, and internal organs. Under the burning state, his physical body also began to welcome the power of advancement. The impurities in the placenta were constantly seeping out. Su Fong did not need to do anything now. He just let the power of advancement attack his physical body. Over time, the changes in his body were obvious. His meridians and bones were growing larger, and his physical body was constantly deepening. Even his threads were emitting the earth tribulation fire. The purple Qi Dharma spirit has indeed fused with another meridian. In the past, it only fused with one meridian in the depths of my right arm. But now, by absorbing the great pregnant purple Qi, the purple Qi Dharma spirit is constantly fusing with more meridians in my right arm. As long as I am in this treasure arcane realm, the purple Qi Dharma spirit can finally fuse to an astonishing extent. Maybe when the time comes, I can directly activate the purple Qi Dharma spirit to sense the third part of the purple Qi Dharma spirit. He was also controlling and adapting to the changes in his body. At this time, the first thing he cared about was the purple Qi Dharma spirit. Then, there were other places. He found a heavenly cave of the golden core of origin. At this time, under the impact of the power of advancement, it had almost turned into a vortex. It was shattering and twisting, as if it was going to crush the golden core of origin. The heavenly cave was something that every cave immortal disciple had to cultivate every time they broke through. Fortunately, Su Fong had lost his golden core long ago, so his golden core of origin didn't really care. It was naturally best to have such a heavenly cave, as it could help the body cultivate. But if he didn't have it, it wouldn't affect Su Fong too much. At this time, in the divine aperture, the dermic power sea was boiling. The more the dermic power moved, the more it meant that the young immortal was crazily transforming and absorbing energy. Soon, after the advancement, Su Fong checked his golden core of origin, dantian, flesh membrane, and divine aperture. He had smoothly stepped into the 4-Dao realm from the 3-Dao realm. Even Su Fong didn't think that it would be so easy to break through to the 4-Dao realm. At this time, Luo said faintly, "There are many reasons why you broke through so quickly. For example, you don't have a golden core, you're a void immortal, you're a complete realm immortal, and you have 2 real bodies. You also have a most mysterious yang qi in the world, a fragment of the world, and a divine weapon. You have too many treasures. Your body is already a huge treasure, which is why your breakthrough is so shocking." My body is a treasure. Su Fong found it unbelievable. True body. Look at the 9 Heaven Star Palace. How many blood transformation real bodies can there be? None of them can even have a Black Lotus real body. Then there's the world fragment. Although many experts have world fragments, you're the first in the cave immortal realm. Moreover, your world fragment is very different. You don't have a gold core, and you're walking on the path of cultivation of a void cultivator. Is there a second person like you in the Star Palace? You're cultivating the Tao of Destiny. Not to mention the Star Palace. You won't be able to find a second person like you in the Star Palace. There's no such thing as a divine weapon. Su Fong muttered, "Yes, I didn't even think about it. I already have a huge treasure." Law's voice was very certain. "This is your potential. This is why you can go from an ordinary immortal to a cave immortal in just a few hundred years, and then step by step to a higher realm. Therefore, you have to make good use of your treasures. I am looking forward to you cultivating the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. Then your physical body will be even more amazing." Yellow Spring Blood Sea. Thinking about the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's peerless physical sacred art, Su Fong was very curious. Moreover, it wasn't a devil path technique, but a physical sacred art. After the breakthrough, his body would be extremely empty. As for other things, he didn't have to worry. He was just an ordinary disciple who had just stepped into the treasure secret realm. Unless it was Mu Shuo, who was related to Nangong Xiao. He swallowed immortal essence pills one by one, and then added a spirit-strengthening pill. As for his yin-yang immortal sky pill, it was still a low-grade pill. Swallowing it wouldn't be of much use at the moment. It was better to give it to Junior Commander, Lu Xiong, and the other demon immortals. With the pill, he released the fragment of the world to absorb the power of the world. Su Fong's body began to surge with energy again. The fragment of the world fused with his body very slowly. He didn't feel much change. Cultivating the fragment of the world was far from easy. Chapter 10:13. Su Fong had roughly reached the 4-Dao Grotto Immortal Realm, so he had to go to the extreme Heaven Pool Peak to complete his 100-year cultivation mission. When he arrived at the extreme Heaven Pool Peak, he saw a dozen disciples chatting outside the gate. When they saw Su Fong, they also casually chatted with him. Their faces were cold, but he inadvertently heard a familiar name. Monk Shangda. These disciples were so free today. On one hand, they were watching Qing Kuei refine the Qingyuan cauldron. They were tired and bitter, so they came out to take a breather. He didn't expect their topic to be related to the Huang Zhe astral plane. From them, he learned that the monk Shangda he knew was being chased by many experts in the Huang Zhe astral plane. Occasionally, treasures would appear in the Phoenix Transformation Canyon. Unfortunately, those treasures would disappear into the depths of the wasteland. No one had ever obtained them. There were also many people who went to the Silent Flame plains to fight for the Heavenlight Flame. Of course, the biggest topic was the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Remnant Dao Field. It turned out that since a long time ago, some items related to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor kept appearing in the wasteland. There were rumors that the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's inheritance Dao Field was buried in the Huang Zhe astral plane. This was also the reason why Monk Shangda was being chased by countless people, who told him to obtain the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's bottle. It was even said that the bottle contained the secret of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Tao Field. Even the Star Palace sent out genius disciples and true higher-ups to the Huang Ze astral plane to search for treasures. But in reality, it was to find the secret of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Tao Field. Who was the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor? Countless years ago, he was the peerless immortal emperor who created the Yellow Springs immortal world. He was at the peak of the world. His Tao field, his cultivation technique, and his inheritance naturally had to pass through the constellation of 9 heavens. Wasn't the constellation of 9 heavens tempted? Weren't their powerful disciples tempted? This was natural. As a first-rate power, the constellation of 9 heavens naturally had to be stronger and have a rich foundation. Therefore, the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Tao field was in existence with a huge attraction. I have to go to the Huangze astral plane as soon as possible. The heavenlight flame is mine. After listening for a while, Su Fong stepped into the celestial lake peak with Huang Liao's permission. Who would have thought that as soon as he stepped in, he would see the scorching hot corridor in the depths of the cavern? Hundreds of disciples were being led by Mu Shuo and a few other disciples to tour the interior of the cavern. When Mu Shuo saw Su Fong, his eyes were filled with disdain. These are the eternal star children who have entered the celestial pole pool peak. Those disciples were all at the heavenly immortal realm. None of them were at the cave immortal realm. Coupled with the tokens and their expressions, one could see their shock towards the interior of the celestial pool peak. These people must have successfully become the disciples of the Wangu star sun from the 10,000-year competition. Moreover, there are also some disciples from Huangfu Dojo. With a glance, Su Fong suddenly saw a few pairs of eyes that were filled with hostility. With a glance, he saw a group of disciples who were standing very close to Mu Shuo. They were all disciples from the Star Origin realm, and there were a few Heaven Immortal disciples among them. Their eyes were filled with hostility. Su Fong smiled inwardly. I reckon these people are related to Nangong Xiao. They are all from the Star Origin realm, so they must know about me and Nangong Xiao. My days in the treasure item secret realm will be even more difficult. These disciples will definitely cause trouble for me in the future. With my current status and strength, I'm not their match. If I want to truly establish myself in the treasure item secret realm, there's only one way. Once I'm strong enough, I'll catch them off guard. With a chill in his heart, he immediately turned and strode towards the cavern on the left. This time, our secret realm has taken in hundreds of disciples. That's not a small number. I see that there are many disciples from the Star Origin realm, and Mu Shuo is in charge. You have to be careful. In front of the cavern's formation, Lu Feng chatted with him for a while before patting his shoulder. He had planned to enter the cavern to continue cultivating, but who would have thought that? Lu Feng immediately sent news that Mu Shuo had brought a few hundred disciples over. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. They had to press on step by step. Su Fong pretended that he didn't know. He picked up the secret book and began to read the large amount of information on it. Soon, Mu Shuo brought a few hundred disciples in. In front of these disciples, he spoke frankly with assurance. Finally, he came to Su Fong. He arrogantly shouted at the hundreds of disciples, "In the future, all of you should remember that all the chores here will be handled by this Huangfu Shaoying. You only need to cultivate. This person has openly contradicted senior brother, so he will be punished." After saying that, he deliberately raised his voice. "Huangfu Shaoying, why aren't you coming over? Don't you know that ordinary disciples have to bow when they see high-level disciples?" Su Fong had no choice but to endure it for now. In front of countless mocking disciples, he bowed in front of Mu Shuo and the other high-level disciples. Most of the disciples laughed out loud, and some even openly said, "I thought that the first disciple to become the Eternal Star Sun would be very powerful and extraordinary." Of course, he's extraordinary. Since he came here, he had to start from the basics, doing chores like ordinary disciples. In front of Su Fong, the disciples openly mocked and ridiculed him. Mu Shuo led the disciples to humiliate Su Fong in public before finally leaving the cave. Su Fong was left alone in peace. He He didn't have any emotional fluctuations because he was brewing a huge wave of backlash. Once it exploded, Mu Shuo would be in trouble. Sometimes, lowering one's status was also a kind of cultivation. After breaking through to the cave immortal Fordao realm, Su Fang's young immortal was twice as powerful. This time, he might as well go all out. He used the true yang immortal divine ability and separated thousands of yang immortals. Under his control, some of them flipped through the secret books, while most of them recorded all kinds of things outside. This was the first time he used the yang immortal divine ability with all his strength since he came to Star Palace. This time, Su Fang stayed for a few years and used all his strength to activate thousands of yang immortals. He remembered all the things clearly and didn't let anything go. Every secret book was also memorized by the yang immortals and engraved in the depths of their memories. It took others 100 years to memorize a part of it, but he only needed a few years to use the yang immortal divine ability. After leaving the cave, Su Fang took out an upper-grade Dao weapon and secretly gave it to Lu Feng. When Lu Feng saw that it was an upper-grade Dao weapon, his eyes lit up. He was in a good mood. Su Fang asked, "Senior brother Lu, can I leave the treasured artifact Mystic Realm for a long time in 100 years? Of course you can, but you have to record it on your record token. Although there aren't many requirements for new disciples, if you don't pass the test, you'll end up miserable. It's not a problem to test me, but I'll have to trouble you to keep an eye on the record token. I guess I'll have to go to Huangfu Training Hall for a while, so I'll have to trouble you. Since you've taken out a high-grade Dao artifact, I have to do this for you. Don't worry. The main thing is that senior brother Qin Kuei is doing his best to refine the Azure Origin Cauldron. Most of the upper echelon disciples are focused on this matter. Even Mu Shuo has spent a long time inside, watching the artifact being refined. Thank you, senior brother." Su Fang's heart bled when he gave out an upper-grade Dao weapon. But fortunately, he could ask Lu Feng to give him special treatment. After returning to the cave abode in the valley, Su Fang began to cultivate and strive to reach the normal state of the Four Dao Cave Immortal Realm. Unexpectedly, Huangfu Xiao secretly sent him a thought, asking him to go to Huangfu Training Hall. Su Fang tidied up and thought deeply. He asked the red kite to stay in the cave abode for a few years and not take a step out. "Young master, if you're going to the Huangze Astral Realm, I want to go too." It turned out that he had decided to go to the Huangze Astral Realm and had made all the arrangements before leaving. But the red kite insisted on dragging him to the Huangze Astral Realm. "It's not that I don't want to take you, but I'm still a cave immortal. I don't have the strength to protect you. I promise you, when I become stronger in the future, I'll take you with me whenever I go out. I don't feel at ease letting you stay here, but it's better than going to the dangerous wasteland with me. It's settled." Su Fang would not be entangled with a woman. He forced the red kite to stay in the cave abode and set up more arrays. Then, he left the cave abode. Huangfu Training Hall. As soon as he arrived at the square, he immediately attracted the attention of many disciples. When he came to the front of the main hall, even the disciples guarding the hall were very polite when they saw him, because he was now an inner disciple of the training hall. Moreover, he could finally enter the palace openly. Most of the disciples looked at him politely. "Senior brother." After entering a side hall, Su Fang immediately bowed to Huangfu Xiao. Huangfu Xiao asked him to sit down. In fact, she did not ask him to come here for anything important. She just wanted to ask him about the cultivation problems in the Treasure Mystic Realm. Of course, Su Fang could not tell her about Mu Shuo. This was a private matter. In front of Huangfu Xiao, he naturally said that everything was fine. Huangfu Xiao also represented Qiu Ranzheng to ask Su Fang about the recent cultivation situation. As a member of the Huangfu Training Hall, Su Fang had to come back from time to time. Inadvertently, Su Fang also asked about Huangfu Fei. In the end, he found out that she was not in the training hall. She said that she had gone out to train. As for baby Huangfu, she was naturally cultivating in the vast ancient mystic realm. The vast ancient mystic realm was not the treasure mystic realm. In all aspects, it was 100 times stricter than the treasure mystic realm. It seemed that after becoming the Eternal Star Son, he felt like he was being exiled. In fact, this was true cultivation. Moreover, it was not easy to be a blacksmith. It took countless years of accumulation and deep cultivation to become a blacksmith master. Since Huang Fufei was not in the training hall, and the people in the celestial pool peak were paying attention to Qin Ke refining the Qingyuan cauldron, it was the best opportunity for him to leave the training hall and sneak into the Huangze astral. Without further ado, he bade farewell to Huangfu Xiao and went straight to the formation outside the training hall. With his current speed, he flew out of the training hall outside the Star Palace very quickly. Once again, he came to the vast land of the ruins. After a while, he finally left the huge floating remains. When he was far away, even his back disappeared into the depths of the void. Suddenly, two disciples flew out from the remains behind. It was a male disciple who appeared with Red Kite. However, the man's gaze was dull, and he did not seem to have any consciousness. On the other hand, Red Kite's eyes were shining with a faint dark red halo. They came to the depths and entered the star fog. There were faint nebulas around them. Red Kite suddenly looked at the male disciple. She grabbed his head with her palm and crushed it. Then, a gust of genuine fire swept out. In less than 3 breaths, the man's corpse was burned into black ashes. What a powerful, genuine fire. A Star Palace disciple did not even have a corpse left behind in an instant. From now on, I don't have to step into the Star Palace anymore. Under Red Kite's ordinary appearance, there was a natural calmness and calmness. It was as though she was living in the darkness. She looked at the deep space where Su Fong had disappeared. Mister's order is for me to suppress this person and obtain the palace feather from him. Today is finally my chance. Then, as Red Kite formed a seal, her speed was as fast as when she was in the training hall. In the blink of an eye, she went to the depths of a nebula where Su Fong had disappeared.